allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is one of our most exciting evenings because we get to award some very special people tenure, and I'm going to turn it over to Hank for that.
This is definitely one of our highlight meetings of the year. Did I see noisemakers in the crowd again? All right, let's see. That's Jackson. Jackson always wins. We look forward to a lot of noise and a lot of celebration as we begin tonight's meeting. We're going to begin in honoring a bunch of very special people with the awarding of tenure this evening. Tenure in Jericho is not an easy process, and for those who are earning tenure this evening, I'm sure that you are well aware that earning tenure in Jericho is a challenge. So each and every person that we are honoring tonight has gone through hoops, rings, dances, but on a serious note, has shown a commitment to our kids, a commitment to the profession, a love of kids, a strong knowledge of pedagogy, and is in the top 5% or 10% of our profession. So as we move through this evening, let us all just enjoy the accomplishments of our staff members that we are going to highlight this evening. I'd like to start off by inviting Ruth Breidenbach to come up to the microphone, please.
Go a little lower. Good evening, Mr. Grishman, members of the Board of Education, Central Administration, colleagues, and Jericho community. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of honor that I stand before you to present two remarkable individuals who have demonstrated unwavering dedication, passion, and commitment to the music department of Jericho School District. Michael Blutman and Peter O'Malley, please join me. These two remarkable teaching musicians decided to follow in the footsteps of the outstanding music teachers to continue the charge of helping other kids love being members of the band and the orchestra. They demonstrate the value of learning to play an instrument, the pride of belonging to the group, and performing together. And let's be honest, it takes a special kind of person to willingly subject themselves to the beginning sounds of the violin and the endless repetition of scales on the trumpet. Fun fact, did you know that they attended Hofstra program together? They were hired on the same day and just a few minutes apart. It's only fitting that they stand here together tonight for this great achievement. Mr. Blutman and Mr. O'Malley are A-plus Jericho teachers according to the students. They have endured frantic last-minute rehearsals, the inevitable forgotten sheet music, and the sheer panic of trying to tune an entire orchestra in under 5 minutes. But through it all, they remained calm, cool, and collected, stepping onto the podium to conduct with grace and confidence. Words from the students. Mr. Blutman, music theory and jazz band are my favorite parts of Jericho. His patience, diligence, and dedication to his job is well displayed in class. I like how he is always nice and chill with us. And Mr. O'Malley, the Fortnite kid, he is humorous and kind. He's a great teacher. You help us, especially when we need help. Mr. Blutman and Mr. O'Malley, thank you for your willingness to put up with the occasional off-key note or miscue. You have already touched the lives of so many students, inspiring them to reach for the stars and pursue their dreams, both on and off the stage. So tonight, we raise our batons to both of you on this well-deserved accomplishment. Despite its striking resemblance to a magic wand, the baton certainly doesn't come with any music-enhancing supernatural powers. However, we consider the conductor's baton to symbolize these words. It's not what you've got, but what you do with it that matters. So congratulations to you.
Tell me they do this in any other district. I'd like to invite Kim Libertini up to the microphone, please.
I'd like to invite Emily Umili to join me. Certified in chemistry, biology, and students with disabilities, Emily Umili brings energy and life to our high school science department. When dealing with the day-to-day challenges of teaching, Emily's patience, positivity, and kindness make her as resilient as a chemical bond. Speaking of bonds, Emily has developed strong bonds with her science department colleagues. When asked to share a few words about Emily, they described her as passionate, enthusiastic, collaborative, tenacious, receptive, reflective, and a flexible educator. They said, Emily is a person I go to when I want to share ideas or receive helpful suggestions. Emily has a wealth of content knowledge and is a wonderful collaborator. We are so excited to share our career together at Jericho. A meticulous planner, Emily's plans are as precise as a DNA sequence. In my time working with Emily, I have witnessed her natural leadership abilities, exemplary commitment to her students, and consistent desire to become a master at her craft. Emily holds kids at the heart of everything she does, is a lifelong learner committed to personal and professional growth, has developed community partnerships, and recognizes the needs of the Jericho community. I can firmly say that I feel privileged to recommend her for tenure.
I'd like to invite Eric Sundberg up to the microphone if you're already there.
Lucky for me.
Always a step ahead.
Could Justina Zendrian join me up here? We're not to use too many superlatives up here, or we're not supposed to have favorites. So I'm fortunate that tonight Justina Zendrian is the only probationary teacher I have the honor of calling up here tonight. And no one should feel slighted when I say, Justina, my favorite. Ms. Zendrian's contributions to our social studies and special education program over the past 4 years have been remarkable. And her own growth working beside her colleagues has been equally gratifying to all of her colleagues and supervisors who helped recruit and mentor her. As both a social studies teacher and a special education teacher, and an ENL teacher, Justina has demonstrated caring, innovation, and commitment to student success. She communicates with families when students need help and when they're doing well. Through her innovative teaching practices, Ms. Zendrian has transformed classrooms and a library lab into dynamic and engaging learning environments by incorporating new technologies such as CAD technology, 3D printing, virtual reality. She has brought ancient civilizations to life in captivating ways. And when those of us of a certain age need help creating a test or a survey or presentation in a new format, we bring it to Justina. And when we're not looking for help, she comes around and asks, how can I help? I think I'm going to translate into Latin and make the department motto. Your next contribution. So, in short, Justina is a beacon of positivity, and I'm honored to call her up here on behalf of everyone in Jericho. Thank you.
See who's going to do this first. And now we'd like to introduce Celine Kriegstein.
It is with so much pride and pleasure that I would like to invite June Yu to join me up here. Now, from the moment a probationary teaching position opens in our district, the journey to this stage is arduous and demanding. Among the many applicants, June's resume stood out prominently. She attended Bronx High School of Science, completed her bachelor's degree at Northwestern, and continued her studies with a master's degree from Boston College. So her academic pedigree was unquestionably impressive, coupled with her successful teaching experience in both New Jersey and Long Island as an AP calculus teacher. So June Yu was stellar on paper. Through each round of interviews, we were so impressed with June's deep understanding of mathematics, her educational philosophy, and her undeniably positive spirit. It became crystal clear June was our top candidate. However, as we all know, the true measure of a teacher is not solely found in credentials or past accolades, but in their daily interactions with students and their lasting impact on them. I needed to see June in action on the job with the students. So, on the first day of school in 2021, as I made my rounds, I arrived at June Yu's classroom, just as her students were leaving the room. Well, I gained insight into that class without even yet stepping a foot inside. Every student came out of Miss Yu's classroom with a smile from ear to ear. And these are seniors in calculus. Now, when I taught high school math, my only goal for the first day of school was to get students to want to come back for the second day of school. June, you accomplished something on that very first day, and every day thereafter. You made your students want to come back. And that calculus class even gave her a cake on the last day that said, "Thank you." Now I want to thank you on behalf of the Jericho community. Thank you for never giving up on a student, for ensuring that every individual felt seen, heard, and valued. Thank you for your relentless pursuit of growth, for your eagerness to expand your own knowledge and challenge your own limits. And most importantly, thank you for instilling a love of learning in your students, for making them look forward to your class day after day. You've not only enriched the lives of your students, but you also elevated the standard of teaching within our community. Congratulations on your tenure appointment. You can never leave.
I'd like to invite Kim Conger up to the microphone. Kim?
Hi, good evening. Can Wendy Goldstein come join me?
As we gather here this evening, it is not only fitting that we take a moment to reflect on the dedication, expertise, and unwavering support Wendy has provided to our students, staff, and families, Wendy joined our district as we tried to recover from COVID and back to business as usual. We had many interviews on Zoom where I became the expert on Zoom. She has been an integral member of our high school PPS team. She has worked tirelessly to create a nurturing environment where every student feels seen, heard, and valued. Her dedication to promoting mental health and emotional well-being has provided guidance and comfort to many students. She is warm and empathetic, and who will always go the extra mile for her colleagues, families, and students. We love when she brings Jackson and Tucker to keep us all centered and calm. And I can really go on and on about all the wonderful things she's done. Those of you who worked with her know. And congratulations, Wendy. Is Michael Carmen here? Michael, we did not discuss this today. I'm sorry. Michael Carmen, it's an honor to be speaking about you. Not only are we celebrating Michael's milestone of being awarded tenure, but to recognize the profound impact he's had on our school community over his 4 years here at Jericho. So I probably, or maybe Joe tonight, will have the most tenure in Jericho, but Michael Carmen has the most titles in Jericho. So Michael is not only our CPSC chairperson, he's our out-of-district coordinator and our transition coordinator. And with that comes many hats, many expertise in many areas. Michael has taught me so much, even after I'm moving on. After all these years, there's always something to learn. He has brought so much to the district behind the scenes, working with our families. He's also a school psychologist, works closely with our skills classes in the middle school and high school. Michael's ability to understand students and their needs, assist parents with gaining services from outside agencies, ease the anxieties of new families embarking in the world of CPSC, and his exceptional attention to detail are just a few characteristics that make him so valuable. Congratulations, Michael.
I thought we were going to award tenure to Tucker and Jackson this evening as well. They haven't been here 4 years yet. Okay. I'd like to now introduce Jamie Hermel.
Good evening, everyone. Can I have Christina Pillai join me, please? I'm thrilled to celebrate the outstanding performance of Christina Pillai, our beloved speech and language teacher at Jericho High School. Christina radiates kindness and positivity, illuminating our high school learning center every day with her infectious smile. Her unwavering dedication to every student on her caseload, regardless of their abilities, is truly inspiring. From our students who require functional communication skills to our seniors getting ready to embark on their college journey. She fosters an inclusive environment where every voice is valued and heard. In addition to her exceptional work in communication skills, or as we call it on their programs, mandated service and progress towards IEP goals, Christina's impact extends far beyond the walls of her speech therapy room, room 4. She champions social emotional learning, consistently checking in on her students as a daily routine. She checks on their well-being and empowers them to use their voice and self-advocate. Christina's efforts to generalize skills and functional communication skills, IEP goals, etc., across subjects provide comprehensive supports, showcase her commitment to each student's growth and academic success. Christina Pillai is more than a speech teacher. She is truly a guiding light, leading her students towards success with her unwavering compassion and dedication. Thank you so much, Christina, for all that you do. We all love you in the Learning Center and in the high school. Congratulations on your well-deserved tenure.
Joe Sapienza.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to invite Kaniag teacher Lorraine Tari to the stage. Lorraine, before we make this formal, a few questions. Can you teach first grade? I'll answer yes. Can you teach second grade? Sure. Can you teach fifth grade? Uh-huh. Can you teach in a pandemic? You got it. Can you co-teach? Yep. Can you teach a staff of around 75 or 100, a new concept that will adopt, make it exciting, make it fun, make it worthwhile? Yes, you can. Did you do any of these things because of a tenure status? No. I'm a firm believer that you did it because your excitement for learning, your excitement for teaching, and the joy that you bring to our building, to its students, to your colleagues, and to the community. The sign of an effective educator is one who teaches with their head and their heart. In addition to the many qualities that Lorraine possesses and that make a great teacher, these, in my opinion, are the most important. During her time at Kaniak, Lorraine has demonstrated the ability to teach a variety of students at different levels and meet their individualized needs. Of equal importance are the bonds that she's created with students and families. She's there for our kids, our families, and our community. I'm confident that Ms. Tari will continue to educate students with head and heart for many years to come. Thank you for letting us be a part of your family, and welcome to ours.
I'd like to ask Alex Rivera to please come up to the microphone. Alex.
Quite as tall as Joe. I'd like to ask Nick DiMartino to join me up front, please. So Nick, congratulations on this well-deserved achievement of receiving tenure within the Jericho School District. Nick's dedication, hard work, and unwavering commitment to the students and families in our community have not gone unnoticed. From the countless hours you've spent ensuring that each student receives the support they need to thrive, to the genuine care and empathy you extend to every family, your contributions to our school are immeasurable. Your passion for education shines through in everything that you do, and it's evident that you pour your heart and soul into work each day. Your ability to inspire and motivate both students and colleagues is truly remarkable. As you now embark on this next chapter of your career, we have no doubt that you will continue to make a profound impact on the lives of those around you. Your unwavering dedication to excellence sets an example for us all, and I'm confident that the future holds great things for you. I'd be remiss if I didn't share some words from our colleagues. Colleagues who you've worked with on the second and third grade team had the following to say. You rarely see Nick without his shirt and tie, unless it's Spirit Day. He even has a backup shirt in his room because Nick never knows when he may need it. Nick is a family man through and through who loves his fishing trips with his dad. Where's your family? Raise your hand, Dad. Where are you? We've come to know Nick as a huge baseball fan, traveling often to see many different stadiums. Nick loves his family. He values his time with them and talks about his family with great respect and love. That carries over to how he treats his Jackson family too. Nick has implemented dynamic student-centered team building, STEAM activities into his third grade routines. When he joined the third grade team, he willingly participated in group Halloween costumes, including lion from The Wizard of Oz, and a suspender-wearing minion. Nick goes all in during Jackson's building-wide spirit days and themes. He recognizes that showing the sillier side of his personality has a long-lasting impact on his impressionable and adoring young students. We started working with Nick during COVID and found him to be a team player in many ways. He helped us plan for and manage safety protocols, helped with planning lessons for both in-person and at-home students, was always willing to share. We appreciated his willingness to help us with technology. This is a good one. He started off his first superintendent's conference, I don't know how many of you knew this, colleagues in the building, by getting stung by a bee. At first, Nick said nothing, and then he quietly told his colleagues. We twisted his arm to walk into administration with us to ask for some ice. We knew from that moment on that he would just go with the flow. Some other great things about him are that he is supportive, has empathy, has a positive attitude, has a good sense of humor, has a lot of patience, works well under pressure, has great manners, always holds the door for people. Never lose that. Always looks and acts professional, has terrific school spirit, is flexible, and the kids adore him. Nick, once again, congratulations on this incredible achievement. May your tenure, no pun intended, here in Jericho be filled with continued success, fulfillment, and joy as you continue to make a difference in the lives of our students and families. Welcome to Jackson.
And welcome to John Mankiewicz.
Okay, I am the last one, so obviously they did save the best for last. So Samantha Sledge, come on up. Sam, I just want you to be careful because you're not in sneakers, you're not in sweats, you're not in your phys ed attire, so I didn't know you owned a dress, so congratulations. Sam came to us 6 years ago as a student teacher from Cortland State and never left. So we like to say that Sam is, she's our little COVID baby. She got her job when we decreased class sizes and had extra sections of phys ed in our elementary schools. And Sam's student taught here. We loved her. She was a substitute teacher coaching track for us. And I said, you know what, Sam, we're going to give you a shot at the elementaries. And she's never left. She's been such an outstanding person down at both Kaniag and Jackson. Now, because when she's there, there's 3 teachers. Someone has to teach in the cafeteria. And that has been Sam's home. But the one good thing about teaching in the cafeteria is that she has smart boards. And when I say she is so good with integrating technology into her lessons and her planning is just so outstanding, her kids love being in her class. And her Jackson community and the Kaniag community, I know Kaniag's gonna be a little sad because she will be at Jackson full-time next year. So I know they're happy. So we are just thrilled that Sam will be with us, and she coaches all 3 seasons of track. She's never not busy. Her kids love her. I'll come out after practice and she's sitting in the hallway playing Uno with her track girls. So Sam, congratulations, and we are thrilled that you're going to be with us.
Ivy, you're up next.
Well, I get the pleasure of talking about Mrs. Ruth Breidenbach, our Director of Music and Art. So I can confidently share that we poached Ruth from the Freeport School District, where she served as Director of Arts and Community Relations. She has brought so many new opportunities to our music and arts programs for our students. In the short time that Ruth has been here, Our students have performed at the Capitol in Albany, in Disney World, and will be performing in Washington, D.C. in June. She has organized alumni panels of visual artists who have shared their experiences with our high school artists, in addition to creating a summer music program for those elementary and middle school students interested in maintaining and practicing their skills throughout the summer. Ruth is always chock full of new ideas, and we cannot wait to see the new and wonderful things she will bring to our district in the future. We are so lucky she has joined us. Congratulations to Ruth on receiving tenure.
Ruth, stand up and wave. I think poached might be the word of the evening. We have some people here from Oceanside, I hear. Well, welcome to Jericho, and so thrilled that you're here with us this evening. I guess I'll start off with, we did poach from Oceanside in bringing Joanna to Ratner Seaman Elementary School. I used to be really good friends with Phyllis Harrington. She no longer speaks to me, but it is worth the trade-off to have Joanna as part of the Jericho family. She was the first principal of the Ratner Seaman Elementary School, and she's done so much to enhance the Ratner Seaman Elementary School. She's brought a love of Harry Potter to Ratner Seaman. We also began a pre-kindergarten program, which Joanna has jumped into full-fledged. While the program technically is a scope program with originally 3, 4, 5 brand new teachers, Joanna has taken those teachers under her wings and done an incredible job in providing them with the professional development so that our babies, our 4-year-old kids, have had such an incredible pre-kindergarten experience. Just an unbelievable commitment to the pre-kindergarten program that Joanna can be so proud of. She, again, has consistently met the needs of all of her students in the Ratner Seaman School, especially to our kids that need the most support and most help. The decisions that she's made, again, are always based on data and the individual needs of our kids in Ratner Seaman. Joanna loves feedback and accepts the feedback that she receives in her day in and day out, and takes that to heart in her leadership at Ratner Seaman. She has definitely earned a place within the administrative cabinet and the Jericho School District as someone who's loved, respected, and models all of the behaviors that we love to see in leadership. And with that, we thank Joanna for her years of dedicated service, and congratulations on earning tenure. Where are you, Joanna? Give it. Joe Sapienza. So let me steal the script. Let me ask you a few questions, Joe. Have you ever taught in the elementary school? Have you ever taught in the middle school? Have you ever taught in the high school? Have you ever been an administrator in the high school? Have you ever been an elementary principal? What else do you do? Joe came to us in 2007, and right from the get-go, as a special education teacher, a special educator, Joe made a mark from day one in his obvious love for kids, his support for kids, and his dedication day in and day out to his kids. And that reputation grew with him in his teaching experience. I will also add that he was definitely blessed with one of the Grishman brats which was not an easy task. And you survived that, Joe. Congratulations. Again, Joe's leadership in the classroom led us to quickly see that he belonged in an administrative position where he could spread the love and his expertise in a broader fashion. And he became a curriculum associate in the high school, supporting our high school students. Again, exceeding all expectations in terms of the leadership that he showed in that position. Again, in Joe fashion, the love and support for his kids. I'll do anything to make my kids successful. And that was the mantra. So when the elementary principalship opened up in Caniac, and it was a most challenging time, who was the perfect person to come into Caniac at a difficult time and bring into Caniac a notion of bringing people together, bringing staff together, bringing parents together, bringing administrators together. Joe, from day one, once he moved into Caniac, we knew that that was the right decision because Joe is Joe. He brought the skills that he had learned along the way into Caniac, and if you walk through Caniac today, you definitely see Joe's fingerprints throughout the entire building. I have pages here. Lots of compliments to Joe's leadership style, to being one of the 3 incredible elementary principals that we have in this district that work so closely together to provide leadership for our youngest kids in the district. And I'm so proud of the work that all 3 elementary principals do and how they collaborate. And again, the mark that they've left on our elementary school program. I cannot be happier than to ask Joe to stand up and say congratulations on earning tenure. Joe, you may now have the honor of beating Benny D'Aquila for the most number of positions that you've earned in the district. And we also want to extend a congratulations to your mom and dad who are here with us this evening and have done a hell of a job. Back to poaching. So several years ago, we poached Ivy from Baldwin. Ivy had a reputation in Baldwin that we were well aware of before we even met Ivy. She was the superstar principal in Baldwin. She was the principal in Baldwin. And we knew that if we could convince her to talk to us, she would be a huge asset to the Jericho School District. She did an outstanding job as the principal of the Robert Seaman School, and again, provided strong leadership, not only within the Robert Seaman Elementary School, but also in supporting her colleagues in the 2 other elementary schools. She too developed a reputation of dedication, strong curriculum knowledge, fighting for the individual child, developing program to support the individual child. Through that, as Barbara Bauer announced her retirement, we knew that the perfect person to continue that leadership in the assistant superintendent of instruction position was Ivy. We asked Ivy if she was ready to leave her love, the Seaman Elementary School, and we twisted her arm one more time and asked her to come to central office, where she has been an integral part of the central office team in the Jericho district. But what she has accomplished in her years in central office is incredible. She has continued our vision for educational improvement. She has continued to expand and enrich our professional development program. She has done just an absolutely incredible job that we can see when we look at our K-12 program, when we look at our elementary program, our literacy program, and we look at our programs throughout the district. Ivy has done, again, her fingerprints are throughout the district. Again, Ivy hit the ground running when she first came into the position, and she's continued that ever since. I'm going to read a sentence or two that was in her end of the year evaluation. Ivy's provided incredible guidance and greatly impacted the instructional program, stepping up the focus on literacy as well as math, social studies, science, world languages. The impact is visible every day and is significant in every program. Ivy has made serious attempts, and again, one of the things that she's done an incredible job with is her visibility. Ivy has done, again, as busy as our schedules are, Ivy's visibility throughout the district, not only in our daytime activities, but in our nighttime activities. Her visibility has been out there, and I've heard from staff members and from parents, it's so good to see Ivy's support for our programs, her physical support in being there in our programs. Ivy is, again, has brought her strong background to this position, a deep concern for individual kids, especially to our kids who need the greatest degree of support. Her dedication is beyond reproach. Her commitment to the Jericho School District and to supporting our kids, our staff, and our families is above and beyond. And I could not be happier to welcome Ivy to the world of tenure. Congratulations, Ivy.
Okay. Be it resolved that all the foregoing wonderful people, congratulations, be awarded tenure tonight. Do I have a motion in favor? Divya, second. Chris, any discussion? Congratulations. All in favor?
Just understand that although the board voted for your tenure tonight, you better be here in September in order to earn that tenure, okay? So let's, no traveling that starts in the summer without you coming back. Congratulations, serious congratulations to all. This evening, beginning their tenure run in Jericho, we have 4 new staff members with us who will be beginning their journey, joining the Jericho family in, I say September, actually July? No, it's probably August this year. Joining us in August, and I'd like to welcome Shayna Anderson, an English teacher. Shayna, if you're here, stand up and wave. Crystal Minot, a math teacher. Kaylee Muscarella, English teacher. Diana Vlavianos, an English teacher. We welcome the 4 of you to what you can see tonight is an incredible, incredible school district, and we know you're going to be happy and very successful in your many, many years in the Jericho School District.
Is that this? Be it resolved that the aforementioned individuals be appointed in the positions indicated. Motion. Jen, second. Divya, any discussion? All in favor? Welcome. Congratulations.
We will take a 60-second break for those of you who would like to get some cake. Thank you for being with us this evening. Thank you for this very special celebration. Please have some cake and a safe home to everybody. Thank you so much.
Bring us some cake.
Kim, you need to stand up when you're hugging her. Nancy, I should have mentioned you as well.
I think we should move into the. Or at least the library. Yeah. What? I just said we should move to the conference room.
Ivy, when I said everybody with tenure could leave, that didn't mean you.
All right, we're going to move this meeting to a classroom. Does anyone want to move up closer to us? We won't bite. I won't bite. Okay, now we're going to do the middle school student council report.
Good.
Ananya Kavi, please come up to the microphone.
Hold on one sec. Patrick, do you mind just closing the doors in the back? Thank you.
Just wait 1 second.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ananya Kavi, and I'm a 7th grade student council representative. It is my pleasure to be here this evening. I would like to update you all on what's happening in the middle school. This month's SEL theme is hope. Hope is the desire to do something and expect that it will happen or be obtained. Keeping in alignment with our theme, Ms. Ricks' upcoming 6th grade guidance activities will be focusing on self-confidence, while Ms. Schmidt and Ms. Richmond will be facilitating the Navient sessions with the 7th and 8th graders. The New York State English Language Arts Assessment was administered to all students today and will continue to do so tomorrow. Makeup testing will occur on Monday, April 15th and Wednesday, April 17th. Thank you to Dr. Salzman, Mr. Gleason, Ms. Ballou, and all of our English teachers for all their hard work and dedication. On Tuesday, May 14th and Wednesday, May 15th, middle school students will take the computer-based New York State math assessments. Makeup testing will occur on Thursday, May 16th. All students enrolled in grade 8 science will have a science assessment on Thursday, May 9th. The report cards for the 3rd marking period were emailed home on Tuesday, April 9th. If you have any questions, please contact your child's guidance counselor. Bravo and congratulations to the Jericho Middle School cast and crew for Once Upon a Time. The performance was on Thursday, March 14th and Friday, March 15th. A big thank you to Ms. Delibra and Ms. Galera for all their hard work to create an amazing performance. On Tuesday, March 25th, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade peer leadership groups hosted our annual Cupcake Wars. It was a fun and sugar-filled day. The peer leadership groups at each grade level are currently in the process of determining which organization or foundation they will be donating the proceeds to. A big thank you to Ms. Breland for organizing this great day, and thank you to Dr. Brush and the rest of the counseling staff. The Jericho Middle School students enjoyed an assembly with the author James Preller on his award-winning book Bystander on March 22nd. Thank you to Ms. Conklin for facilitating this great experience. A big shout out to Dr. Morrow and our middle school math counts team for being the state champions for the second consecutive year. Congratulations, Shining Stars. Last but not least, the Long Island Jericho History Day results were announced last week. Once again, the middle school dominated junior level competition. Ms. Cantwell, her fellow social studies teachers, Dr. Sundberg, and the library media teacher, Ms. Conklin, hosted a watch party in the middle school library as our 18 winners were announced. The Long Island History Day finalists will be moving forward at SUNY Oneota on April 14th. We wish them all the best of luck. Well, that's all for now. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Ananya. High School Student Council, Mark and Natasha, sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Grishman, board members, administration, and the Jericho community. We're excited to be here today to share with you highlights from this past month. My name is Natasha Koviwat.
And I'm Mark Sheen. First, we want to start off by saying congratulations to all the newly tenured teachers. Thank you for your hard work, and we're so lucky to have all of you. We started April off strong with the jazz band concert held on April 1st, where students and families can enjoy performances from both our middle school and high school jazz bands. On April 3rd, the video production class created their newest episode of The Day Show, the first daytime late night show, featuring host Nicholas DiTieri and guest star, well, me.
Let's give it up for Mark Sheen. Thespian Honor Society inductions were on April 8th, and the National Honor Society inductions was on April 3rd. Inductees of the National Honor Societies will be able to wear an honor cord during their graduation ceremony, provided they continue to fill requirements throughout their senior year.
This year, High School Alumni Hall of Fame celebration was held at Jericho Public Library on April 4th. The following alumni inducted this year were Jordan Sela, Keith Horn, Randy Ringler, and Andrew Sosmer. The student-led ceremony featured outstanding introductions from Sophia Syed, Kira Heath, Vivek Kripalani, and Alex Boyarsky.
Students and staff were provided solar eclipse glasses to watch the solar eclipse on April 8, 2024. Students were then encouraged to drop off their glasses in either the assistant principal's office or room 304 to help children experience the next solar eclipse in Latin America.
April is All Abilities Month. Students and faculty were encouraged to wear blue on April 2nd, pink on April 9th to support the month's messages, and looking forward on April 16th, next Tuesday, you are encouraged to wear yellow to celebrate inclusion. April 9th also marked the release of quarter 3 grades on PowerSchool, and the PTA Council also held their parent university that night, an opportunity for parents to hear from alumni on their college experience and advice and listen for advice for future high school students. Additionally, today, April 11th, the video production class went to the Locust Valley Film Festival, where they were able to win first in a lot of events. Congratulations to all the students.
The 2024 FBLA State Leadership Events Conference is currently taking place in Rochester, New York. Our FBLA teams qualified through the prejudged event and will be competing in their respective categories from business ethics, business plan, coding and programming, community service project, digital video production, e-business to website design. We wish our students the best of luck in their upcoming competition.
Next, we want to congratulate the winners of the National History Day. So congratulations to Caitlin Chun and Isabel Dunn for winning second place for their project, The Great Migration, Closing the Gap in Racial Inequality in the group documentary category. Harnuj Doneja, Summer Malik, Faye Safir for winning second place for their project, Margaret Sanger, The Woman Rebel, A Turning Point in Women's Autonomy in the group exhibits category, and Isaac Chen for winning second place for his project, a turning point in the battle against big tobacco, Surgeon General smoking gun fires, and individual websites. They advanced to New York State History Day at SUNY Oneonta on April 14th, and they will be joined by Dr. Dussel.
From April 15th to the 17th, we will be holding our General Student Council elections. Unfortunately, that means Mark and I only have a few board meetings left before we pass the torch on to the upcoming students. We encourage all students to check out each candidate, their bios and videos, and most importantly, to go vote.
The high school spring choral and orchestra concert will be taking place next Tuesday on April 16th in the auditorium. Join us from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. to listen to all of our talented students perform. Looking forward, we will be celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week, which is a week to express gratitude to all of our wonderful teachers for all the hard work they put in for our community. In light of the AP exams, our student council will be celebrating our teachers on Wednesday, May 1st by providing a complimentary breakfast of bagels in the morning to start off their day.
AP exams are set to begin on May 6th and will take place in our high school throughout the day. Students should make sure they prepare their supplies and get a good night's rest before their exams. The blood drive scheduled for May 16th has also been rescheduled for Friday, May 31st.
That's it for now. So we all hope you have a nice break, and we look forward to seeing you guys next month. Thank you.
Thanks. We look forward to seeing you next month too. PTA Council, Allison. It's on. Sorry about that. Good evening, Mr. Grisham, Board of Ed members, Central Administration, faculty, staff, and community members. I'm Allison Edelman. I'm the president of the Jericho Joint PTA Council, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight. Since I last presented at the March Board of Ed meeting, the Jericho Joint PTA Council has continued to be very active. This past month, we met with Ron Verderber and the JTA Executive Board. We had an excellent conversation about students, teachers, and parent philosophy. The JTA and the PTA will continue to work together to make sure we give our students all the tools to achieve success. Each month, we invite a different Jericho faculty member to our joint PTA council meetings. This format has proven very successful for both our PTA members as well as administration. This allows parents and staff to engage and learn from each other. We feel privileged to have this open dialogue with administration at every level in our district. On Tuesday night, we held our second Parent University of the Year. This one was done on Zoom with a panel of recent Jericho alumni speaking to our parent and student community about their college experiences. Once again, our alumni continued to amaze us and was a huge success. We had over 100 people log on to hear from schools like the University of Michigan, University of Virginia, West Point, Duke, and more. I'd like to thank Mr. Greg Sloan and Denise Nash for putting this successful evening together. College can be a very unnerving experience. Listening to our incredible alumni speak and thrive after leaving Jericho puts a lot of minds at ease, and we look forward to seeing these future leaders' success. This morning, thanks to joint efforts of the PTA and district, we hosted research expert Dr. Stephen Dewey in an important discussion about addiction and the brain. Dr. Dewey presented about the effects of alcohol, caffeine, vaping, drugs, and video games on the brain and what we as parents can do to help our children. Dr. Dewey has been coming to Jericho for many years and will continue speaking and educating our kids, as education is the best deterrent to addictive behaviors. Besides putting together the officer slates for next year, each unit has been planning special events. Cantac hosted a heart fundraiser in memory of Haley Wong, a student, classmate, and friend who passed away 2 years ago. This special event, organized by Dr. Sapienza, teachers and staff, as the PTA helped raise over $25,000 for the American Heart Association. Everyone wore purple. Everyone wore purple to honor Hallie's favorite color. Jackson had a very successful multicultural night in the middle school, high school auditorium. This place was packed and included performances, dances, cultural booths, and food tasting from around the world. It was a special night bringing the community together. Ratner Seaman has been busy planning their staff lunch. Their theme this year, Our Teachers Are Spatastic, offers a spa day for the faculty and staff. The PTA also purchased field day t-shirts for all the students for this fun day in June.
All three elementary schools have been working together on two very special events in June. The first is a bowling event where teams will be mixed up so the students from the three schools have yet another opportunity to meet and socialize before entering middle school. Next, the three elementary schools are also putting together a district-wide outdoor movie night event for our K-5 families on June 7th. More details on that will come. SEPTA has created a whole month of autism awareness for our students, wherein blue to shed a light on autism and pink to spread kindness are just two examples of the special days being organized by SEPTA this month. On March 22nd, the middle school hosted James Preller, author of children's books including Upstander, Bystander, and the Jigsaw Jones Mysteries. Assemblies led by Mr. Preller were held in the auditorium for all grades and students, and the kids had the opportunity to ask questions. This was an amazing event for our middle school students. These books completely align with the middle school curriculum with Standing Up to Bullying. The high school is looking forward to celebrating Commitment Day for all our seniors on May 1st. The PTA leaders will be fundraising that day to continue to raise money for their senior party, and the students will proudly wear their college swag on their shirts after months of waiting for decisions. Congratulations in advance to all our seniors on their college decisions. What a smart and talented group they are. On May 14th at 7:30 p.m., the PTA will be hosting a Meet the Candidate Night for all the candidates running for the school board and will be moderated by the Women of League voters. This will give each candidate the opportunity to speak to the Jericho community and share their views and goals for the Jericho School District. This year, the event will be live streamed, but in order to ask questions, you have to come in person. We hope that everyone attends and comes out and votes on May 21st for our school budget. We want to take this opportunity to congratulate all the tenure recipients tonight. Jericho is a very special school district, and we are so lucky to have you as part of our family. Thank you and have a good night.
Okay, we have two presentations. One is World Language Plus updates, Lionel Chan, and then afterwards the DEI update from Dan Salzman, Eric Sundberg. So we're going to go down.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Lionel Chan. Good evening. Tonight I'm going to be talking about FLES at Jericho Schools. So an overview of the presentation tonight, we'll talk about our FLES program, how it supports logical thinking, and how play is an integral part of our program. And we'll also talk about the New York State learning standards and applications of them. So FLES at Jericho Schools, we're going to talk about the program. This is an early language learning program at our three elementary schools, at Cantiac, at Ratner Seaman, and also at Jackson Elementary School. So FLES, what is that? It's an acronym. It stands for Foreign Languages in the Elementary Schools. It's an acronym that's used nationally to describe programs for students who are learning a foreign language in grades pre-K through 6. So I want you to remember our program with these three numbers, 3, 4, and 5. That's how I'm going to explain it to you right now. So 3, the 3 is our amazing team of FLES teachers, to whom are joining us tonight, Ms. Hernandez and Ms. Payahaki. Thank you for being here. And they are the teachers of Spanish, French, and Italian in our FLES program. Ms. Lee is our teacher of Mandarin Chinese. So the 4 represents the 4 languages that we teach. We have Español, Francés, Italiano, and Putonghua, which are Spanish and French and Italian and Mandarin Chinese. So you see in first grade, students are learning Spanish and Mandarin Chinese. In second and third grade, they're continuing their studies in Spanish, which they started in first grade. And in grade 4, they continue with their studies of Spanish and also come back to the Mandarin Chinese. And grade 5, we have French and Italian. So there's a purpose to this structure, and I'm going to talk about that right now. Nationally, the FLES programs really have 2 main goals, and these are consistent throughout most programs that you'll find. Building proficiency, and also exposure. So in terms of building proficiency, it's the consistency that we're looking for. So for instance, students are learning Spanish in first grade. It meets twice a week for 20 minutes. After that, they continue and they take that Spanish, they build upon it, and they grow. In second grade, third grade, and fourth grade, they continue with Spanish once a week for the entire year for 40 minutes each. So this is where their sentences are getting longer, they're learning more vocabulary words, they're reapplying the vocabulary words that they learned last year, and there's a lot of recycling that our teachers carefully put into their lessons. So this all falls in line with the national learning standards for that come from the American Council on Teaching Foreign Languages, which is having students practice and memorize words and phrases that they've learned throughout all these years. So what happens in grade five? This is where the exposure comes in. So in the beginning of the year, students learn French for once a week, 40 minutes. And then in the second half of the year, they're learning Italian. Sometimes we flip it the other way around. Sometimes we start with the Italian and then they go to the French. And that continues once a week for the entire year for 40 minutes. Our students also get exposure to Mandarin Chinese. And that happens in both grades 1 and again in grade 4. And they get these lessons once a week for a 5 to 6 week period. And those lessons are also 40 minutes each. So this exposure, what is this, what is the purpose of this? So there is research out there that shows that when students learn a language during childhood, they are able to develop they're much more likely to develop a native-like accent in those languages as opposed to someone who begins learning a language in adulthood, let's say. So whatever language our students continue to study, whether it be Spanish or French or Italian or Mandarin, they're going to have tapped already those phonological patterns during these elementary school years and continue and take that native-like accent and grow with it in their language learning. So we're grateful for this opportunity. So I'm going to talk about child development right now and how our foreign language in the elementary school program supports that. So around age 8, children are developing logical thinking skills, right? So the parameter is like between 7 years old and 11 years old. So here is an example from Ms. Hernandez's class. They're learning about animals in Peru, right? So los animales de Peru. So here you have this is a shot of a word wall game that Ms. Hernandez created for her students as a class activity. And what they're doing is that they're taking the words on the left and they're moving them into these 3 categories. You have la selva, la costa, and las montañas. So la selva is the jungle and la costa is the coast. Las montañas is the mountains. And each one of these animals, they're taking and deciding as a class where the animal is going to go. And this is what the answer key looks like. So this is classification. To classify, you need to use analysis. And analysis, one of the critical thinking skills in Bloom's taxonomy. So right away, they're already practicing critical thinking skills in Spanish using the target language. So I'm also going to talk about play, okay, in our early language program. Now, guidance from New York State Education Department in their publication, Understanding the Value of Play from Birth to Grade 3, talks about how children from birth through age 8 learn best when they're engaged in active play-based learning within social and experiential contexts. So our program supports that. Our language learning program has plenty of games for students to engage in while practicing the target language. So I'm going to show you a reverse charades game right now in Ms. Pryhockey's class. Now, I'm going to give you a little background information, okay, before we play the video. So you see all these students standing. They're watching the smartboard. And in the video, Ms. Pryhockey is going to circle a word. And students are going to act out that word. And you'll see a student, once the video starts playing, that's standing right in front of the smartboard, but facing the other students. So the student has no idea what word is being selected. And it's that student's job to guess based on the actions or the gestures that his or her classmates are showing. Okay?
El gorro, wow, perfect, el gorro, bien rápido. Una niña, a good girl, una niña, a good girl, a girl. Ready? ¿Listos? 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 Las botas, niño.
So you see, the entire class is actively engaged in the learning process. Again, touching upon the national learning standards one more time, practicing those memorized words and phrases in a fun way, in a play-based manner. So finally, I want to connect to our New York State learning standards, which are revised learning standards that have come out from New York State, involve the 3 modes of communication. There's also some culture standards as well. But the 3 modes of communication, interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational, I'm going to show you an example of a presentational communication work that our students have done. Presentational communication, again, it's one-way rehearsed communication, and you're going to see a spoken example right now. So what is this? Students have been learning greetings in our first grade Mandarin classes, and now they, I want to say, like at a culmination of the 5 to 6 week cycle, they're ready to practice and show off what it is that they've learned. So here we have an example from Cantiago Elementary School. Intonation, excellent pronunciation. Again, they're developing these skills in these early childhood years and childhood years, and really taking that and growing with that. And again, whichever language they select, they're going to have that. They're going to be able to carry on that native-like pronunciation. So again, I want to thank our FLES teachers. There's so much more that they do. If you ever get a chance to visit our elementary schools, please look at the beautiful displays, the bulletin boards that they put up. Follow them on social media. They do so much to promote their program, and they do so much for our kids to make it, as I wrote up there, a joyous experience. They really give our students a very fun 40 minutes each week. So we want to thank them again, Ms. Hernandez and Ms. Bryaki and Ms. Lee. I also want to thank Mr. Grishman, our district administration, Dr. Sherman, Dr. Chufo, Mr. Manuel, and everyone in district office for supporting our FLES program, and also the Board of Education. Thank you for supporting our FLES program. And also thank you to Ms. Clutter and Dr. Sapienza and also Dr. Rivera for supporting our FLES program, and also the elementary school teachers who've collaborated with our foreign language teachers, our FLES teachers, to do special projects. So this is my contact information. If you have any questions, thank you so much. Have a good evening. So it's 40 minutes a week, that's correct. In our first grade, they get it twice a week, but it's 20 minutes each, so that adds up to the 40 minutes. Correct, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Sure. Good evening. Thank you so much. I want to thank Hank and the board for inviting us here tonight. Dr. Sundberg and I are going to speak a little bit about the DEI committee and give you an update, some of the work we've been doing this year. We thought it might be useful. At the end of the presentation, you're going to see a quote Dr. Sundberg provided. We were just talking to the committee earlier tonight. Actually, we had a meeting, and he quotes that what we're looking for is to find or find ways to make this place safer and to increase the sense of belonging for our students. So I just want you to keep that in mind as I go through some of these things. And then for people that came tonight that might not have been here last year, we thought it would be good also. The diversity, equity, inclusion policy was adopted by the board 2 years ago. And so that's when the committee was enacted. And so we had last year and this year to start trying to get towards some of those aspirational things that were listed in that policy. So just going back a little bit, 2 years ago, when we started, we had to not only choose members of the committee, so we found in most cases they represented all various constituencies present from various organizations throughout the community. And then so when we started meeting, we reviewed the DEI policy. We established norms, behaviors that would go on in these meetings so that we both promote civil discourse as well as being able to discuss sensitive topics. So that was a lot of the work, is just establishing that. And we did different games, activities, things like that to really create a culture that we could discuss these kinds of topics, as well as artifacts and gallery walks. For really where we started, we were thinking, there are lots of categories in the policy. It is broad in the scope. And so we thought we start with teaching and learning because it's our job. And we thought we'd look at the schools first, both for the student and the educator's experiences. And so we looked through pictures and especially because a lot of people have kids at different levels through the schools. And we looked at community events, things on the walls. You'll see some of these artifacts in the end of the presentation. And then of course we got towards a discussion through a district needs assessment. And that actually came through, Dr. Sundberg showed some of the data from a student research project last year where they administered climate surveys. And sure enough, we saw, and he's going to speak to this in more detail, large notions of positivity. People agreed, but we were more concerned with the people that didn't agree, maybe that things were so rosy and good. And so maybe we need to look deeper into that. So we started discussing in the committee a tool to get some of that information. So we wanted to focus on the experience of students and teachers, and specifically cultural responsive teaching. That is both the state standard, okay, we have culturally responsive education being promoted by New York State, as well as specifically cited in the DEI policy. And so we actually brought through a text, again, Dr. Sundberg referenced this text last year, but Zaretta Hammond's book, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain, brings up an attention to not only the culture of students, but also brain development, and how if we find ways to make the school safer and also providing what we call agency for students, then they would learn better, okay? That would be the goal. And then so we decided to construct a tool to gather more data, in this case a survey. And so all year we've been working on constructing that survey, and then the hope is to distribute to all students in grades 6 through 12, a different survey for 6th, 7th grade, and then a survey for 8th through 12th grade, as well as a survey for the adults in the building. So all staff, the teachers, custodians, lunch, help everybody in the district so we can get a sense of how we're doing. And then hopefully also analyzing and reporting findings. I wanted to bring up this image because it is from the book. It's something I shared in the beginning of this year to sort of ground the committee as well. Some of you may have seen an image, and this comes from Zaretta Hammond's book, but I think it's also a nice way, a metaphor, to share with you also some of the philosophies that have come out of the committee, because you might have seen a metaphor sometimes of an iceberg. And so you only see the tip of the iceberg above the water, but below the water is everything else. And this is similar to that, except it speaks to, in the tree, on the top, the leaves would be hairstyle, music that you're into, literature that you read, things that you can see, right? But in the middle of the tree, the bark, you get a little bit deeper, okay? You might have things that you wouldn't necessarily share the first time you meet somebody, but once you get to know them, you might know things about them. And then the roots, that's what we call deep culture, or what I should say Hammond calls deep culture. And those are the things you would never see unless you really got to know somebody through time. And that's where we want teachers to start learning, who students are. And I think just, thinking about the beginning of this meeting and, listening to the tenure speeches and what we're celebrating, that's exactly what makes a Jericho educator. And so we just wanted to show that, and that I do think has been a thread through all of our conversations in all of our meetings throughout the year. Other conversations, so again, I'm looking towards next year. The hope would be to utilize data to inform other areas of focus, maybe even influence professional development, as well as community outreach. One thing that we've heard all year is trying to let the community and the people at home know what the DEI committee is doing. So hopefully this helps. Correct. No, not yet. It's under construction. The hope is that we would have it this year. I mean, even tonight we were talking about questions and things like that. So I think we still have a lofty aspiration to administer that survey this year, if possible. Dr. Stumber.
All right, excuse me if I'm. Sorry about that. Go a little deeper, be a little redundant. So as Dr. Salzman said, this is a new committee. It's a result of a relatively new policy. So when we got together last year, we're kind of finding our way. So in addition to figuring out how we were going to talk to each other, establish those good norms, we wanted to find an area of focus. So the board's policy, as the board knows, is comprehensive. There's sections in there about hiring, about discipline. We chose to go into our initial comfort zone, which is teaching and learning, and a section in the board policy on culturally responsive teaching and learning. And that we would, as the policy suggests, think about the curriculum in the district, instructional materials, professional development programs, support systems for students. And we would try and take seriously the policy's suggestion that we implement a responsive and sustaining educational framework, and talks about the ideals of DEI being connected to affirming cultural identities, helping students develop connections across lines of difference, elevating historically marginalized voices. And as Dan said, we started even last year taking a look at one of the more popular books in this area for education, and in particular, trying to help us think about culturally responsive education within the notion of equity. So I'm showing you this table right now, almost to show you the things we're not doing as well as the things that we are. So equity it can include this notion of multicultural education, which of course is important, social justice education, which of course is important, but these things haven't been part of our work over the last 2 years. We've been looking at culturally responsive education, which is how do we address social and psychological variables that increase student learning. So we tried to educate ourselves, looking at some very old notions in sociology, particularly this idea of the looking glass self, which says that children and all of us really come to develop our own self-identity in response to the way other people perceive us, or at least in response to the way we think other people perceive us. We looked at videos of professional developers in this area, all talking about the need for all children to feel, as Dan was saying before, seen, to feel safe, to feel that they belong. So then as a committee, we asked ourselves, all right, how is Jericho doing in these areas? What does our curriculum, or at least our standards, say about these areas? What is the general climate of the school? How is our professional development in the area of not DEI generally, but culturally responsive teaching doing generally, in order to help students connect across lines of difference and, as according to the board policy, elevate historically marginalized voices? So, as Dan suggested, we started with just a broad audit of artifacts, literally things on the wall, things that are going on in this space. Is there that generally positive tone about diversity? Is there a generally welcoming attitude towards all kinds of students and in all programs? So just walking around on a day within all of the buildings, what do we see about helping students to be kind in person, on social media? What are we doing sort of the dark history of Holocaust and other studies. So who are the people we're bringing in to talk to students? How are we doing with our heritage months in taking a look at whatever the month might be? This was Native American history, but as well as taking a look at things that we're proud of in Jericho history. Then we did a deeper dive into our PD activities. And over the last few years, there have been a lot of in-service courses that are touching on culturally responsive teaching. Curriculum associates and summer R&D workshops have been working on this. And curriculum meetings, we're trying to take what board policy is saying, what state regulations are saying, what state recommendations are saying, and tying those to things going on here in Jericho. And again, felt pretty good on paper and in person. We have a lot of great things going on in this area. And then we took a look at standards. And most of the subjects that we teach in Jericho are operating on relatively new standards. And we find that the concept of culture and identity are part of the learning standards, not just in social studies, but in ELA, indeed in science and in all the subjects. So conceptual understandings and academic vocabulary relating to identity are a fundamental part of and got it back. I like that Dan has my back. So in social studies, for instance, as early as kindergarten, we have a standard that says that the notion of self is shaped by experiences that are unique to us and our families, and by common experiences that are shared by our community and our nation. And one of the main takeaways in the beginning of kindergarten is supposed to be that we have cultural similarities and differences. And what's interesting is the New York State in the social studies framework says that we should be using, when needed, specific terms and descriptors, including gender and race, ethnicity, language. Again, just grabbing at random. In science, it's not just this utilitarian subject where you do math and solve a problem, and it's you evaluate solutions, but take into account constraints that could include safety, aesthetics, social and cultural impacts. So the notion that we should be thinking about the role of culture and social constraints is even in our science and technology subjects. And then we took a look at the Danielson Teacher Practice Rubric, which is the negotiated instrument that JTA and the district administration has agreed that we use to evaluate ourselves and our own practice. And there's many elements in there, but they include demonstrating knowledge of students. So, part of a teacher's evaluation is supposed to include recognizing the value of and understanding the interests and cultural heritage of individual students and demonstrating that. When we set outcomes for students, we're supposed to keep in mind the varying needs of individual students and groups of students. When we're supposed to be creating an environment of respect in our classrooms, right? And teacher interactions with students reflect general respect and caring for individuals as well as groups of students. So what we see is that what the state is telling us, what the district and teachers have agreed to as a way to evaluate ourselves, what the board policy has given us, all sort of converge around this notion that we're supposed to be identifying individual and groups of students and creating an environment in which they feel safe and welcome and that they belong. Right? Because getting back to some of the research, which we're not going to get into all right now, when you don't feel those things, you're exerting psychological and emotional energy that is distracting you from learning. So it happened that one of the two students who was on the committee last year was involved in our social science research program, which was for many years, for decades, has been from time to time administering climate surveys to their classmates. And So those students brought in the research that they had at that time, and it was just sort of an interesting way of pointing us in the right direction. So the data don't necessarily matter too much, but they took a look at the age of students, which we ought to be doing. They got some information on the racial makeup of high school students in the year that they administered this. A notion of birthplace of students and religion. So asking really interesting questions to develop data as they do very, very often. And then they started coming up with these sort of aggregate reports of students in high school. And most, as Dan said before, over 60%, approaching 70% felt that Jericho High School is a racially inclusive place. But we're curious about who are the people who don't agree. We found that most students in Jericho report that the high school is a safe place to be for people of all genders. But this study doesn't tell us, and we're curious about who are the ones who didn't agree. And that the students found that most high school students found that Jericho is an inclusive place for people of all sexual orientations. And again, we don't know who the ones who didn't agree. They're a minority, but a large minority. So, as Dan suggested, we have been discussing what kind of instrument that would be more robust than high school students have done, although they're brilliant and they're Regenerons and they know how to do these things. But we wanted to do a slightly deeper dive and look closer at subsets of students to see to what degree they feel safe, they feel welcome, that they feel that they belong. And we've also done some preliminary work on a faculty and staff survey because just as we're gearing up, this might be important, but that hasn't been the main focus of this year. And that's where we are this year. So I guess what I want to say is why it might seem to be taking a long time is one of the things that we're most proud about this committee. And I said it to some other people earlier. I've worked in a lot of school districts. I've been on a lot of committees, and not all of them, but some of them are elite forms of control. They're a way where people who are in charge of the committee kind of drive it and get everybody to buy into a particular view. Our committee, by district policy, includes representatives of the faculty, and we have teachers from all buildings. We have administrators. We have a board member. We have PTA representation. We have JTA representation. There's a lot of different constituencies, but more importantly, we all have different points of view, and we change our minds a lot, and we're struggling through this. So we like that we have a place where we can be safe in having these conversations, but sometimes it just takes a while because getting it right and having consensus is more important than just ramming something through. That's what we got. And back to the beginning. One of the things we want to do next year is get more input from the larger community on what is it that you think makes your children feel safe and a sense of belonging.
Dr. Sundberg, before you go, sorry, Sam Perlman, a couple of questions. So would you define the committee's current mission as you said it, to make sure that people feel safe and that there's a sense of belonging in the school? Is that the current sort of primary mission that the committee under you and Dr. Salzman, or is that the
I would say
objective?
the abiding purpose of the committee is to eventually be in a position to make recommendations to administration, Board of Education, and how to do better at these things. And right now, we're just trying to get a sense of how we're doing in those areas. So for now, safety, belonging, and being seen by all students in order to foster learning is the part of the board's policy that we're most focused on right now.
And so as part of that, you said you have this survey from last year. You're working on a new survey to put out in the field, either hopefully late this year or early next year. Have you done, you said you're focusing on teaching and learning. Have you looked at the curriculum to see what's there, if there are aspects of that that are not achieving that goal?
Honestly, so far we've been looking at state standards, which are what the curriculum ought to be. And we have not held that up against actual teaching. I think all of us feel, because the work we do in our departments, that it's happening, but that has not been a part of the study the committee's done. We've taken a closer look at the frameworks of our subject areas.
Thank you.
I'm sorry if that's inadequate, but I'm just trying to answer honestly. We have not gone and looked at lesson plans to see how they're doing in this area.
I would never use the word inadequate for anything you and Dr. Salzman do. I'm simply trying to understand where we are. And I guess since you brought it up, last question then. When you talk about trying to build identity and make sure that everybody's identity is represented, I forget how you worded it.
Everyone has one. We just want it to be respected and seen and consistent with all of the policies that we've said, that every identity and whatever it might be, that you are feeling safe with it and seen with it, and that you're accepted with it.
Thank you.
We don't create it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I was going to ask one quick question. Are you guys going to be opening up applications to accept new applications for new members?
Each fall we have to reset because students and other
Yeah.
some retirees.
Mhm.
So yeah, every fall I think we put out those heads of those constituencies.
And currently, how many people on this committee?
And we'd love it to be more steady, but yeah, on paper, I think there are between 16 and 18 members. We added a student this year, so last year there were 2 students, this year there were 3 students. I'd be open to having more students.
Okay, thank you.
Jolyn. My son's in 8th grade. DI is something that I care about a lot. And I think 2 years ago when this was formed, one of the things I was concerned about is DEI being treated as an academic exercise rather than an experiential situation. Have you guys considered the inherent bias that is in surveys when it comes to marginalized people? So when you consider the fact that people who are marginalized are less likely to speak up because of the challenges they're facing, whether it's language, being bullied, various elements, that these surveys could be biased. The other portion is, having done business schools, we also know surveys inherently have a very high error margin because you're asking people to put themselves into a hypothetical situation and answer based on that hypothetical situation. So just wanted to pose that for your consideration. The other part is, when I think back to my own experience, coming here, going to school where I was the only Chinese person. It was difficult to speak up for myself. And it was those inherent situations that the teachers weren't catching. I was getting bullied. I was being face down into the sand, and the teachers weren't catching it. Right? It was a student that came to my rescue. It's also the cultural aspect when we talk about that. I remember growing up in middle school and thinking, I go to school, there's an American culture I'm supposed to adhere to, and going home and having my parents tell me I wasn't Chinese enough because I wasn't adhering to all the standards and expectations that they had. Then going to bed not wanting to wake up, praying every night that I don't wake up because I didn't know who I was. That experiential piece is the piece that I think needs to be addressed. When I look at these data and all these things, that's all great. And thank you for all the work that you've done for the 2 years. Really appreciate that people are paying attention to it. But that experiential piece, I'm not seeing it. And I'm hearing when I talk to parents about students being bullied, people being called the N-word, and we're not taking advantage of the educational opportunity to teach people about what it is to handle and be supported when it comes to DEI. So, I really implore the committee to really take that into account, that some of this stuff cannot be found in textbooks. You really have to experience it.
You're right. Was it a question? I agree with it. We're going to take that seriously. Yeah, there will be. Or the intention is, when we wrap this up, that it would be anonymous. It would be optional. You could skip any particular questions. To think about some of what Mr. Lynn just said, we're also going to run it through our high school IRB committee, as we do with all of our social science research. So there will be, mental health professionals and other people who are used to looking at any instrument that we use and put out to students to make sure that they're safe and not unnecessarily triggering.
So that's sort of the first step. And then once you find out if they're comfortable, you're sort of done. If you find out they're uncomfortable, then your next couple years is identifying what's making them uncomfortable.
Depends on what the data brings up. There'll be opportunities and open-ended questions for people to say what makes them uncomfortable. Depending on any patterns that emerge in the data, it's conceivable something more experiential would need to happen. We were having conversations with subsets of students. So we can't see that far out, but typically when you get quantitative data like that, and you want to do something with it, it might lead to something more experiential or qualitative to get a deeper understanding of why any correlations exist between particular students and particular experiences. Am I making sense? I honestly want to check to make sure.
I may not be smart enough sometimes to understand.
No,
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 I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Those were great presentations, very helpful, educational, and keep up the good work. Superintendent's report.
Again, just ditto, two excellent presentations. Congratulations to Lionel and our FLES teachers for the outstanding work they do. As we go into the budget season, you read on Newsday about many districts that are suffering from shortfalls based upon state aid. And there are districts that I'm sorry to hear are looking at reducing their foreign language in the elementary school programs, and in some cases eliminating those programs. And again, I think that's such an important part of our educational program and what an educational program should look like in the elementary schools. And I also, again, want to thank, I know the work that Eric and Dan are doing. It's not easy work, but really appreciate the time and effort and seriousness to which you've taken the challenge. And I really look forward to the next steps, specifically looking at what will happen with our survey and the results from our survey. And again, I echo, I think what I heard both of you say, just looking at some of the graphs, high level of concern for the number of kids, 20, 25, 30% of our kids who are not feeling safe, who are not feeling connected. And that is in our district, something that I'm sure we're all concerned with, and we want to delve deeper into that and look at how our district can attack and support those kids so that that number is significantly reduced. And so again, thank you to Dan and Eric for their leadership. To start off, superintendent's report, and with very, very mixed emotion. I share with all of you here this evening that our beloved Ben Chufo has decided it's time for him to retire. Ben has been a mainstay in our district for over 30 years, and a lot of who we are today has much to do with Ben and the leadership that he has shown in our district. And again, I do not want to belabor because I know he'll be ticked off if I do. But again, I just wanted to share with everyone, while we wish Ben the best for all of the years that he has put into Jericho and making Jericho who we are today, we wish him some time to enjoy, relax, spend the winter someplace warm, with a super thank you for all of the good work that he's done and the mark that he's left. Again, mixed emotion that I'm losing my brother, but I wish him all the best. And thank you. We'll plan some more for the June board meeting. And I bet if we do, Ben won't be here. Also wanted to do a shout out to Lorianne. Tonight is Lorianne's last formal attendance at our Board of Education meeting, and we wish one more time, Lorianne, all the best. We're getting lots of opportunity to stretch this evening, which I love. Our enrollment report, no standing ovation needed, please. Our enrollment report as of April the 5th, we have 3,382 students. Again, sometimes the question is asked when we share that number. That does include our pre-kindergarten students. Briefly, a couple of other things I wanted to mention. There was a presentation, and many of you have had an opportunity to see Steve Dewey. Steve Dewey has been visiting our district for well over 20 years, making presentations to staff, to parents, and most importantly, to students. And in the last couple of years, we've expanded his presentations from just doing high school students to also doing middle school students. He does an incredible job, incredible presentation, a very factual, objective presentation on addiction. This morning, we had a meeting, and again on a cloudy Thursday morning, we invited Steve to present to parents, and we expected to have a dozen or so folks there. We had over 100 parents attend the meeting this morning, and they literally were in awe throughout his presentation. He was scheduled to talk for 1 hour. He wound up probably talking for about an hour and 45 minutes. Just an incredible presentation, dealing again with the traditional discussions we have about drug and alcohol abuse, but also talking about the impact of basically social media, electronic games, cell phones, and what the impact is on an adolescent brain. Presentation is always outstanding, and we look forward to Steve coming back in the very near future. Also wanted to mention, again, you've heard at the last couple of board meetings, we've had some parents who've asked us to consider providing our students with halal meal for lunch. So I think in the months of May and June, we are going to try and have, or we are going to have a halal offering on our menus. Victor, how many days a week is that planned for?
I think twice in the month of May, if I remember correctly, and it would be at all elementary level, middle school level, and high school level.
Great.
The days could be different depending on the level.
Great. I appreciate Victor working with Dina in putting this together, and again, kind of a pilot to see level of interest from our kids and how successful it is as we plan for the coming year. Also wanted to announce there's been some discussion for about the last 3 months that the Jericho Public Library was going to be closed for some period of time for construction work. And again, those dates have kind of gone from February to March to April. So we now have from the library a firm date that the library will be closed starting on April the 22nd, and they anticipate that it'll be closed through May the 13th. So again, Jericho Public Library will be closed from April 22nd to May the 13th.
Mr. Superintendent, as we heard tonight, that is directly over AP exams, which again, I don't know exactly where all the seniors study, but I have to believe it's going to affect a decent portion of our student body who's going to be spending, the week before and that week studying for AP exams that start on May 6th. Is there, again, I can't for sure say that the students are going to miss it, but I think they are. And alternatively, is there some way that we can make accommodations in the high school library, which closes, I think, at 4 o'clock each day, if we could keep that open, or if there's some way, again, I may have overstating how much time our kids spend in the library, but I always see them there. So
we have a recommendation from high school administration to actually assess from our kids whether we should be opening our library during AP week. So we will continue our conversations with high school administration, and if the feedback that they receive is that that is something that is needed, we will accommodate our students. Ben, I know that you wanted to update the board and the community on the recertification.
So we are in the middle of the second recertification process. We're about 87% complete, meaning that 87% of the respondents have completed their recertification process. Happy to report that all of the recertifications have been received and verified as having no issues. We look forward to completing that process, hopefully before the end of the school year. And we're very happy with that. And I'd like to shout out to Joe for all his help in that process. We're ahead of where we were last year in terms of the recertification, and we're happy to report that all things have been reported and seem to be in good shape.
Thank you, Ben. I know that we've been asked the question a few times based upon last year's recertification process. And I know you've answered the question, Ben, but I just wanted to restate it tonight. We've been asked the question, how many students through the recertification process were removed from the school district? And your answer was 0. Again, we appreciate the process and the outcome from the process. But again, there was no students through last year's process or to date through this year's process that was removed because of the recertification process. I know that Victor had a comment that he wanted to make at this evening's board meeting. Victor, can I turn it over to you?
Thank you, Hank. Good evening. On behalf of Mr. Grishman, Dr. Chufo, Dr. Sherman, and me, we wish to make the following statement. Over the past 2.5 years, we have observed a board trustee consistently display disrespect and hostility towards others, including fellow board trustees, staff, and community members, many of whom are here tonight. We consistently emphasize to our students the importance of treating others with respect, embracing differences, and avoiding bullying under any circumstances with clear consequences for such behavior. Our dedicated educators embody these crucial values in their daily interactions with students, leading by example. Unfortunately, this board trustee has not followed those same values. Repeatedly stating, as was done most recently at the March 21st Board of Education meeting, that the investigation exonerated the board trustee and the district wasted $60,000 is baseless and unfounded. The district's expenditure was solely due to this board trustee's actions. While the report's summary indicated no official violation of policy or law, it did state inappropriate behavior took place by this board trustee and does not negate the personal harm caused by this board trustee to fellow board trustees, staff, and community members by his words and actions. In December of 2023, the Board of Education issued a counseling memo to this board trustee with a series of recommendations. More recently, several PTA and community leaders have attempted discussions, urging this board trustee to improve his behavior. Unfortunately, no meaningful change has transpired. Jericho has always been known for its high academic achievements and as a safe space for students and staff to engage in open discussions without fear of bullying or disrespect. We implore this trustee to reflect upon the consequences of his words and actions on this community and district. The behavior must cease immediately as it has caused unrest within the Jericho community. We call on this trustee to refrain from victim blaming, stop deflecting, and instead lead by example by altering his conduct as a board trustee to one that fosters the values we instill in our own students. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
Are you done with superintendent's report?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
During the March Board of Education meeting, Mr. Perlman brought up what he deemed a very serious issue regarding an alleged surreptitious video recording of a private conversation involving himself and a student by a person he identified as a central office administrator. This evening, I would like to provide clarification and comment on this matter before reviewing the results of the investigation. Firstly, it is important to note that this matter is clearly a personnel issue, a personnel matter, and should have been more appropriately discussed in executive session, not in an open public session of the Board of Education. While I ordinarily would not report my findings on an executive session matter, I am compelled to do so because this was inappropriately raised in public last month. Additionally, the individual identified by Mr. Perlman as a central office administrator is actually an employee working under a civil service title, which I believe Mr. Perlman was fully aware of due to previous allegations of inappropriate behavior made against Mr. Perlman by this employee. Considering Mr. Perlman emphasized the seriousness of this alleged violation, it is puzzling why he waited 5 weeks to report this publicly at a Board of Education meeting and did not immediately report this event through the appropriate administrative channels, all of which he is well aware. Moreover, Mr. Perlman's public accusation directed at this employee could potentially be interpreted as retaliation, especially in light of the outcome of the Perlman investigation earlier this school year. Now, regarding the details of the incident, after reviewing videos and conducting interviews, I have determined Mr. Perlman was in a public hallway outside of the Ratner Seaman cafeteria after the Board of Education meeting had concluded. 2 Jericho staff members overheard Mr. Perlman making disparaging remarks about the employee and informed her of this. Additionally, there was a high school student and an election campaigner present in the conversation with Mr. Perlman. The campaigner, who identified himself as recently working on the Santos campaign with the high school student. The employee promptly went to the public area where Mr. Perlman was speaking negatively about her. With her phone clearly visible, she approached the group consisting of Mr. Perlman, the student, and the campaigner, with Mr. Perlman verbally acknowledging that he was being recorded. It is important to note that the student was not verbally recorded during this interaction, nor was he involved in the conversation. The employee stated during the interview that the reason for her recording was not because she was instructed to do so by a higher up administrator, as alleged, but because of previous incidents, she was trying to protect herself. Based on our investigation findings, we have determined that there was no inappropriate or illegal use of a recording device as alleged by Mr. Perlman. I also state that any further discussion of this matter should appropriately take place in an executive session. Thank you.
It's puzzling when investigations are conducted without speaking to the people involved in those incidents, first of all. Second of all, as you can go back and listen, I never asked for an investigation. As I stated at the time, I have many teachers, parents, students approach me to discuss issues. And I wanted to make those people as a whole aware that I would be very cautious and that I would not be openly speaking with them in hallways, in school grounds where there are administrators around. There were no accusations. There was nothing talked about. You can go back and listen to the statement. I think the facts as presented by the superintendent are off by a factor of 2 or 3, but I appreciate him looking into the matter, even though I never asked for that, and I was simply talking about it as a message to the people who would approach me to talk about the school issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. Good evening. I just wanted to give you guys an update. I've been in touch with Assemblyman Jake Blumenkrantz and Senator Jack Martins in the past 2 weeks, and I wanted to bring to your attention a piece of legislation currently sitting in Albany, trying to be passed with our state budget. The bill is called the Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act. What the bill proposes is to use tax-exempt land occupied by churches, mosques, and temples to be able to build high-density affordable housing at the rate of approximately 50 units per acre while maintaining the tax-exempt status, all while the taxpayers would foot the bill for resources that such developments would require. This initiative is not just aimed at Jericho, but all of Long Island and other parts of the state where land is abundant. An example that was recently used in the media is our neighbor St. Paul's, which sits on 39 acres. I'm simply here as your board trustee to inform you of this legislation to make sure we are as transparent as possible. This bill can circumvent local zoning laws to build high-density housing. In Nassau County alone, we have over 1,100 churches, temples, and mosques, which could be eligible for 50 units per acre and up to 5 stories. The bill also allows the landowners to sue the communities and force a permit if they do not get an approval within 60 days. I strongly encourage all of you to stay informed on this initiative and this piece of legislation, and to understand the impact it can have on our communities, on our police, sewage, schools, and of course, environmental impacts. I would just like to highlight again that this initiative would be paid for by the taxpayers because the churches would remain in a tax-exempt status and would therefore not contribute any money to the tax roll. Our taxpayers would see their own taxes go up to pay for it all. And it is my duty as a board trustee to keep you informed about issues that would affect our communities and potentially school. So please contact your local government leaders for more information if you have any questions. Thank you.
So as of today, that bill is no longer part of the budget bill. It has been removed from the budget bill. There is support from both the Assembly and the Senate, and both from both the Republicans and Democrats with whom we've spoken, and the bill has been removed from the budget bill, which is currently being negotiated. It will not be part of the budget bill, and it is not part of any serious discussion on a go-forward basis. I will continue to keep you apprised of any progress, but at this point, I'm very comfortable to report that I see very little chance of this bill moving forward anytime in the near future.
Mr. Grishman, I spoke to someone a few hours ago, which it's still on the table. I mean, I spoke to Jake Blumenkrantz just a few hours before I walked in, so it's still on the table, but they're trying to negotiate to try to get rid of that, removed from the state budget.
Jen, just if I may, since you use St. Paul's as an example, I'm a parishioner of St. Paul's. I certainly do not speak for them or represent them in any official way. But based on my conversations with Monsignor Pareda, who leads St. Paul's, I do not believe there's any plans to build any sort of high-density housing there. I think their intention is to use those ball fields to allow kids to play ball. So
It was just an example used in the media. I'm not saying St.
okay,
Paul's.
no, I just don't want people
I
to
want
be
to clarify.
fearful of
It
that.
was
Yeah.
used in the media. It was not my example. It was just an example of how many acres our neighbor, because they're so close to the Jericho schools. It was just an example used by the media. It's not. There's no
Oh, okay, yeah.
plans. I'm not putting that out there at all. No
I-
plans.
I saw they
There's no
did
plans
use-
anywhere.
I saw they did use St. Paul's as a backdrop for their news story.
Yes.
The politicians obviously frequently do that.
Well, it was News 12 that was there. So.
And the politicians use it too. But in any case, I had heard about this too. I spoke to Mr. Saladino about it. Obviously, we'll watch it closely. But to Hank's point, I don't think it's going to survive scrutiny.
The people who are actually the small group of people that are negotiating the final parts of the budget in Albany, both the leadership of both houses and the staffers who were directly involved have informed me that it is no longer part of the discussion.
Business portion now.
Wait,
for-
don't we usually do comments from the public?
After the minutes.
Okay. Well, when are we doing miscellaneous? After minutes? I mean, I have, Mrs. Vartnoff made one statement. I'd just like to make
I
a
didn't know you wanted to make a statement. You usually jump right in. So if you'd like to make a statement, you can. Make
I'm trying to list Mr. Manuel and his colleagues and be better behaved.
Would you like to make a statement? Sam?
I would love to.
Okay.
It's very brief.
Be
You know
my
what it
guest.
is. Amanda, go ahead. Commensurate with our policy of allowing foilable material to be read, and in an effort to clarify some confusion from last month's meeting, I read from the invoice for services for the period ending July 31st, 2023, submitted to the district by Ingram and Smith. July 7th, 2023, attorney SG, later identified as Stephen Goodstad. Review report, telephone conference with H. Grishman regarding same. Telephone conference with A. Pope regarding same. Staff conference with C. Powers concerning same. Hours 1.5. 7/10/2023. Staff conference with C. Powers attorney SG. Staff conference with C. Powers regarding report. Telephone conference with A. Pope regarding same. Telephone conference with H. Grishman regarding same. Hours 1. That occurred on July 7th and July 10th, 1 month before any report was delivered to the board. At the March meeting, at approximately 1 hour and 38 minutes into that meeting, I asked the question of Mr. Powers. Mr. Powers, did your firm review this report before it was delivered to the board? Mr. Powers answered, sir, this was a Gercio report. I had absolutely no say in this report. I had no say. as I've discussed with some of my board members, I believe that we should put onto our agenda, if we can't add it to this month, we should put it on for the month of May to publish requests for proposals from law firms to potentially serve as counsel to the Jericho School District in place of Ingram and Smith for the 24-25 school year. Thank you.
Madam President, may I be heard?
Go ahead.
Last month at the March 21st board meeting, Mr. Perlman questioned my role in the investigation of the events that occurred at the October 20th, 2022 board meeting, some 18 months prior. My role here in Jericho is very clear. I represent the Board of Education. I provide legal guidance to the board, the collective entity itself. If an individual board member is the subject of a complaint, I cannot investigate such matter. However, what I can do is to point the Board of Education in the right direction in terms of what action needs to be taken. You must bring in outside counsel to investigate the matter, to speak to witnesses, to review circumstances, and also to render a report to the Board of Education. You do that to be thorough. You do that in order to be compliant with board policy. My role was to facilitate the securing of outside counsel, Gersio and Gersio, to investigate this matter and to provide the findings to the Board of Education. My role was ministerial. Get Gersio involved with the investigation, connect the parties that need to be connected, step out. I played absolutely no role in determining the merits of the investigation. Gersio and Gersio, and in particular Ashley Pope, took many months to render their report. The report was received in July of 2023. There was an issue with the report in terms of its format. It contained direct quotes from cooperating witnesses who came forward as part of the investigation. That is a problem. The cooperating witnesses were upset that their direct quotes were going to appear in such report. So what do you do about that? In the interest of protecting the individuals who were spoken to, the district, and even Mr. Perlman, you have to eliminate the direct quotes. You can keep the structure such that it contains comments, but it cannot be attributable to individuals. The structure was changed, the content was not, the findings were not, and a report was generated and provided to the Board of Education in August of 2023. The board at that point needed further guidance, and at that point, exercising my responsibilities as counsel to the district, as I have for the last 25 years, I provided to this Board of Education another attorney that could guide them in terms of options that were available, a very fine attorney, Joseph Carbonero. My role here, as it has been for 25 years, is to protect the board, to protect process. Part of that process is to protect witnesses that were spoken to during the course of an investigation. That is my charge. That's my responsibility. I took the high road because that's the only road to take. It's the road I've taken for 38 years practicing law, and it's the road I will continue to take.
I think both of us are on a very high road here, and we just have a difference of fact. And at no point during that conversation, during that statement, did I hear a reason as to why the report was ever sent to Ingram and Smith or to administrators before it was sent to the Board of Education, which was the client who retained Gersio, who authorized payment to Gersio, and who authorized the investigation. And so while I fully appreciate the work that Ingram and Smith has given to this district over the last 25 years, it still remains inexplicable as to why that report would go to anyone other than the Board of Education before it went to anyone else. And all of the pretext will not change that.
The report having gone to Hickerman Smith actually caused me to intervene to do the right thing by the format of the report. It protected the Board of Education. Those individuals who cooperated, their names were not affiliated with quotes. That is to your benefit, to the benefit of the board, to the benefit of the district. It was done. I addressed it, and that was the proper way to address it, sir.
Can we move on?
Absolutely. I don't even know how to define gaslight, except for that's what I just heard.
I'm kind of just speechless. Okay, recommended action, be it resolved that the Board of Education make any necessary corrections and move the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting dated March 21st, 24, and the executive session dated April 5th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Jen, second. Divya, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Opportunity for the public to be heard. If you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, please tell us your name and affiliation if you're representing a specific group. If you'd like your statement to be included in the board minutes, you must hand a written copy of your remarks to Victor before speaking. As always, public discussion on matters relating to staff and students at which their reputation, privacy, or right to due process, or those of others, could in some way be violated is prohibited. Corey?
Thank you very much. It's a tough act to follow, and I'll do my best. So when a strange person comes to appear before a board, usually you have your attention for the first 2 minutes, and then they fall back to sleep. So I'll try to be quick. My name is Corey Klein. I've had the privilege of being involved in Jericho schools for the last 20 years. My daughter Alexis graduated in 2018, going through Cantiago Elementary and seeing some familiar faces tonight. My son Joseph graduated in 2022. Okay, also going through Cantiago Elementary. And my last guy, Brandon, as many people know him commonly as Bubby. Okay, he's a well-known fixture here in school. And I'm here to discuss the implications of this board's policies as it relates to COVID and the selection of the valedictorian. Because you see, I'm in consideration that these two policies right now conflict with each other. And they conflict with each other to the impact of one person and one person only this year, my son. My son was not selected as a valedictorian because of this board's policies as it comes to COVID. Now, Mr. Grishman, you don't have to give him any tips. Okay? Please. Okay? Don't give me the credit for that. My son, Bobby, okay, has gone through every grade here in Jericho School District. He's gotten an A+ in every single class, except back in 8th grade. And I'll get to that in a moment.
Mr. Powers, are we okay having this conversation?
Of course you are, because you know what, Mr. Grishman, don't try to
excuse me,
out-lawyer me with the lawyer.
I didn't interrupt, excuse me.
Don't
I
try
didn't,
to out-lawyer me with the lawyer.
I didn't interrupt
Yes,
you.
you did interrupt me. Let me finish, and then if you want to consult with
Mr. Powers, could you please weigh in
No,
for
you're
us?
not, Mr. Powers. Don't go down a dangerous slope. When a parent comes up to talk about their own son, I know very well he can. The privilege is associated to the board, okay, through the open meetings government law. Don't try to out-lawyer me. I'm going to continue.
So
my son Brandon,
Actually, there's a process that
No,
must
there's
be.
not a
res-
process.
There's a process
Counsel.
that must be respected, and it's an
Counsel.
internal process.
It's
Sir,
not- no,
I
it's
have
not.
listened to every
So
word
I'm
you
gonna-
said, and now, so where we are at this point is, Mr. Grishman, members of the Board of Education, ultimately, you are going to have to make a decision, apparently, concerning an appeal that Dad is going to present to you. You have to listen.
Let the parents speak.
No, sir. No, sir.
If you're going to try to be a lawyer, then refer to me by my title as well. Okay?
Sir,
Thank you.
I did not
The
know
title-
that you
counsel
were a
that-
judge. I'm
counsel,
respecting
counsel,
you.
Let me finish. Before you try to shut me down, before I try to say something
No,
that
sir.
this board doesn't want to hear,
What I'm trying
don't put yourself into a perilous position where you're going to give bad legal advice.
Okay,
Please.
sir.
Let me finish my statement. And then when I finish my statement and you know what I'm going to say, then if you want to give advice, give advice. Don't preempt me.
This is
Don't,
not the
no, you
forum.
can't preempt me. And I'm
This
going
is
to
not the
stay here.
forum. This is not the forum.
is the
where
forum.
a public board meeting.
It is the
is going to
forum.
be an appeal process. Where
No,
this
it's
Board of
not an appeal
Education-
process.
You have the right to appeal, and it's
So
not
I'm going to
here.
stay up here now, and I'm going to continue speaking.
Okay.
So now,
Madam President, you had the opportunity
my
at this
son,
point to make a
Jill,
decision whether,
let me
whether
speak.
going to
You're the
consider
president of the
this.
school board. You're not going to let me speak?
I think you should just listen to what Mr. Powers has to
No,
say
Mr.
because wait,
Powers
I'm
is
just
trying to protect
wait.
you. I've
You
done his
Corey,
work for years.
Corey, you
Let
just
me
asked.
speak.
You just asked me.
Let me speak.
I'm
I've been
ask-
in school for district for 20 years.
I
Can
understand.
speak?
I understand that. I think you should listen to what Mr. Powers has to
I
say
don't
because
need to listen to your lawyer. I know the law.
Can we make a
it's not about the law. It's about advice. He's going to give you advice because if you want to appeal to the board,
I'm gonna
then
speak.
you're going to prejudice the information by
I'm not
making a
prejudicing any
statement
information.
in
Don't
front of
tell
us
me
now
how to
before
go
there's an
before a
investigation.
board
I make a
and
motion
speak.
to just let him speak.
Let me
And
say my piece.
He's smart enough
and
to
then
know
you make the decision.
what he wants.
Don't try to outlaw me. That's ridiculous. That's what the problem is with the board day. If you're going to keep going to lawyers,
I was just asking
okay,
you to
let me
hear
make
him
my
out.
statement. Stop spending money on lawyers, okay, and let me make my statement. And then if you want to shoo me away and try to preempt me from speaking, you can. Because I'm not going anywhere. We'll be here all night, okay, and I'll be standing here to make my speech because I can. I'm a parent, and I'm willing. I want to address the school board. You don't know what I'm going to say, so don't shut me down. You can't do that. That's un-American.
I
You're
wasn't
telling
trying
me-
to shut you down. I was
So
giving
thank
you advice
Thank
to
you,
listen
Jill.
to
So
his
I'm gonna,
advice.
now, with your advice, I'm going to continue.
The
So my
process-
son
the
has
process for an
been
appeal
here.
is that the
Thank you,
process.
counselor.
Excuse me, sir.
Thank you, counselor.
Judge, Your Honor,
Thank you,
please.
counselor.
I am respecting you. I would ask that you respect me as well.
I am.
Here's my recommendation to the board.
But then make your recommendation after I speak.
Okay.
You're not doing your job well right now. You're coming out. You're trying to protect your board without even knowing what I'm going to say. I might say they're the greatest thing in the world. You don't know what I'm going to say.
I'm
So
trying to
stop, counselor.
Sir, I'm trying to protect process.
No,
If you
you're
have-
not. You're trying to prevent me from speaking.
If you have an appeal to the Board of Education, you have the absolute right
You don't
to do
know
so.
what I'm going to say.
This is not the forum to
Of course
have
it
an
is. This is
appeal.
a public meeting that the public can address any matter to the board.
Not-
any matter can be heard.
Not a matter where we're talking about individual
How do you
students.
know what I'm going to
compare-
speak about?
I'm cautioning
So
you.
let me speak, counsel. Stop.
Okay.
At this point in time,
Sir,
as
Your
long as
Honor,
you know
we are
as
not
long
in
as you
court
know
at
my
this point.
son. Some of you know my son, okay? And this is the problem. The problem is that I can't address the school board, and I can't come before you after 20 years and say, you know what? My kid got Shanghai, okay? And now, here's the problem. In 8th grade, my son is sitting there taking 8th grade back in 2019, 2020. Brandon was 1 point away from being deemed a valedictorian. Okay? In 8th grade. Think about 2020, ladies and gentlemen of the school board. And if I could have your attention, I'm sorry that your attorney needed to go at me, okay? When all I wanted to do was come up here and politely address, okay, one simple question, okay? I did, Mr. Grishman. I wanted to come up here and address it. You didn't want me to be heard, so that's what you're getting pissed off at. The fact that I have the audacity, okay, because it's the end of my kid's career, I had to come up here and question a decision that you made, okay? So you try to sick your pit bull attorney on me. It's beyond approach that you don't do something like that, okay? You see, it turns out that back in 8th grade in 2019, 2020, Brandon was 1 point away from having an A+ in algebra. He was 1 point away. 2019, think about 2019 for a second, 2020. This school board then went about in April of 2020. Just as the fourth quarter was starting, the world changed. COVID hit. COVID hit the world. Think about back in 2020, in April, 4 years ago, what the world was like. Because of COVID, the board and district set up an entirely new grading system. Are you aware of the entirely new grading system? Some of you may have been here. Some of you may have kids in here. Mr. Perlman, your son is a valedictorian, so I'm sure he was aware of it. Ms. Citron, I know your son was involved, okay, in school here. I don't know about the others. But Brandon, at that point in time, because you set up a new grading system, that grading system said as, quote, you take the average, you take your grades in quarter 1, 2, and 3 quarters. And then what you do is you simply add to it one grade. Accordingly, what the school district then did was, okay, it eliminated in this grading policy the entire belief of a grade in the fourth quarter. There was no more fourth quarter grade. In addition to that, okay, the school itself recognized the problems that would happen when somebody would come to graduation. And I don't know whether the school recognized it would happen 4 years later. But in that comment, there's an article that was written by a young lady in school here, Darian Schultz. She worked and wrote a school article for the WordPress.com. And she said in this article, contacted Regents Rundown. One concern for students regarding these cancellations has been graduation and prerequisite requirements. The cancellations of these exams have had profound impacts on teachers as well as students. Overall, teachers are trying their best to keep students motivated and working hard during these difficult times. Jericho High School co-principal, Mr. Cohen, believes that Regents cancellations won't have much of an impact on students. But it did have an impact, because what you did was you said to a kid, we're only going to take 3 grades, quarter 1, 2, and 3. If you're 1 point short, we're not going to count the Regents anymore. Not only are we not going to count the Regents anymore, okay, this school district allows the Regents to boost the grade, but the state canceled the Regents. What the school district then did, and it probably didn't do it on purpose, was it took away the discretion from teachers. Because by instituting this new grading policy, what you did was you said, teachers, you have no input in your student's final grade. So there were 3 strikes that the policy did that haven't come up till now. Number 1, okay, it removed the Regents. Number 2, you removed the 4th quarter grade. And number 3, most importantly, you removed the opportunity for educators, the teachers who you praised all night here, okay, in order to do their job. You removed that pure element of the educational purpose. You said, you know what? We're not going to allow teachers to give a final grade. We're not going to do that. We're going to dictate what the final grade should be. In doing that, okay, Mr. Cohen went on further, end quotes in the article, and said, regarding requirements graduation, he said, and I quote, that any students sitting in classes that end in Regents exams, they'll automatically be given credit for that at the end of the year. So I'm asking you, was he telling the truth then? Okay, because where's the credit then? My son was 1 point short, 1 point short. Okay, we have 14, 15, 16 valedictorians this year. And when we came to meet with the school, okay, I got to tell you, it wasn't a very pleasant conversation my son had, okay, in meeting with the administration, meeting with the principal. In the past, the Regents exam, he said, Mr. Cohen, would be averaged into a student's final grade for the year. So you would average it in, but it didn't happen in COVID. Furthermore, you removed the teacher's discretion. You said, no, teachers don't matter anymore. That's what you said. My son the next year went into math, okay, and I want to tell you what his teacher said about him. This is written by the teacher, okay? So clearly he asked me, how do I know the teacher would have given him an extra boost, okay? I'll read you what the teacher said the next year in math class. Brandon is the kind of student all teachers wish they had in class. He's a kind, caring, considerate, hardworking, intelligent, and mature beyond his young years. This school year has been filled with many challenges for teachers, students, and parents. Brandon has been a model student during these times. I can say without hesitation that if not for Brandon, my teaching experience and the students' learning experience would have been lacking. Brandon's insight into class discussions is not only welcome, but necessary. So here you have a kid, okay, who back in 2019, 2020 does everything right. In wrestling, in which he was involved with and captain of, there's an expression that Mr. Brodsky has all the kids look heart and pride. His heart and pride was in this school and is in this school. And I hope that the Board of Education has heart and pride, okay? And not just doesn't rubber stamp things that you've heard, okay, without the facts. I've heard different things about the fact that one has consistency, okay? I took the Regents exam. How many of you went to school here in New York? You took the Regents exam in algebra. This is the first year you're going to have a student who was prevented from taking the algebra Regents. And because he was prevented from taking the algebra Regents, the school administration says, tough noogies. We don't care, okay? We don't care. You've done everything right here. You've got an A+ in everything. We're not giving you the benefit of the doubt. Again, precedent, I'm told. There is no more precedent. The COVID pandemic, the issues affecting the pandemic have happened. They're gone, okay? And the school board's probably going to change because we're going to have 28 valedictorians this year, okay, or whatever number it is, okay? Okay, it's probably going to end up changing that anyhow. This was not his fault, okay? This was not his fault. He did everything right in the school district. The school district created a policy. The state eliminated the Regents exams, and you took away discretion from teachers. So I just want to know from the school board, what are your feelings on this? Do you think that a kid who does everything right, okay, and gets put into that situation shouldn't be given the opportunity to at least have 2 minutes? His speech will be shorter than everything I've heard here tonight, okay, if you allow him to do that. So I'd like to ask the school board members, okay, Ms. Citron, Mr. Perlman, you have a kid that's a valedictorian. I know you're involved in all this other stuff, so I don't know what, I have no clue and I don't care less about it. Okay. But you think your son's going to be taken away? Okay. You think anything's going to be taken away if your son has to listen to Bubby speak at graduation?
No, but I'm not sure that's going to be the issue that the board members are going to be discussing.
But discuss it. What?
Oh, I'm happy to discuss it.
The kid was 1 point short in 8th grade, okay, of having this done. He went to the principal, and the principal gave him this speech. He gave him this whole speech about consistency. You know what consistency? Every kid's taking the Regents exam except him. And he's the only kid in this year's graduation class, the only kid, okay, who had all A pluses, was in a class in 8th grade, had an A. This isn't like he made a choice. It was taken away from him. So the board willing to address this? Is the board willing to say, hey, you know what? We think this kid who's been here his whole life deserves an opportunity to get a 2-minute speech, okay, at the graduation? That's all I'm asking. Any response? This is why you became board members, by the way, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I don't know 3 of you, okay? But you didn't go on this board to pass items on the agenda. You got involved here because all of you said we want to do this to make the kids' lives better. So make a kid's life better. Be heard. Speak up, please. Okay, don't wait. Don't look down. I'm addressing you. I'm a parent. I've been here. Some of you I know. What are your thoughts on this? Nobody.
I think it's owed a discussion. I'm not sure we have the information right in front of us to have that discussion. I think you've laid out a very detailed case, I guess, Mr. Klein. And I don't know if high school administration that you spoke with has anything to add to that conversation. You talked about high school administration. I assume you're talking about senior administration, whether it's principals or assistant principals.
Yeah, I went and my son went. I spoke to the principal. I spoke to Mr. Grishman, and I was given this stuff about consistency and precedent. Okay, and how consistency. And I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, how did the school board create a policy with regard to COVID with grades? Okay, I'm sure you didn't even think in 4 years, except when I found this article where it was addressed, and the principal himself is saying, okay, that Regents cancellations won't have much of an impact on Jericho students, and I quote, they'll automatically be given credit, okay, for any student sitting in classes that end in Regents exams, they'll automatically be given credit for that at the end of the year.
So Corey, the proper way to address this is if you want to make an appeal to the Board of Education about this decision, you can send an email to the board and we will discuss it.
I don't need to send an email.
This discussion is ended here. This is not
Why, Jill?
because this is not.
Like it?
No, it has nothing to do. I love Bobby. I think he's a great kid. It's not personal. It's not personal. It is not personal. This is not the appropriate forum. We need to hear from administration. There's a whole bunch of things that have to go
attack
on.
each other back and forth all night long. You can point at him. He could point at him. But I come up and I raise an issue about a kid, and you try to shut me down first with your lawyer.
I'm not trying to shut you down. This
So
is not
address
the
it.
right
Jill,
time and place to do this.
Do you think he should be a valedictorian or not?
This is not the right time to place to do this. I'm not giving you my opinion because I don't have enough. I'm not giving you my opinion. I don't have enough information. No, I don't. I do
Why are you
not.
on the school board then?
I know, but I
Okay?
need to hear from the
To
administrators
do
as well.
what? To hear what from the administrators?
I need.
Oh, come on, Jill. You got on the
Corey-
school board. You ran for election to make kids' lives better. So make a kid's life better.
That's not how things work.
Do something.
There's
That's not how
proper
things work.
procedures.
No, that's
This
the
is not
problem.
this is not the right time or place. And if you'd like to appeal, send an email. You and I discussed this already. I said if you wanted to appeal to the board, you could appeal to the board.
And
You
you
need
told
to
me
do it.
good luck with that. Okay? Because you know that I'd be try to be shut down, but you also know that I'd be adamant.
I didn't say
and not
good
be
luck
shut
with
down.
that.
Jill, of course you did. You knew
That's
I was
not
going
what
to get
I
up here.
said.
You knew you're going to try to get a lawyer to get. You knew I was going to stand
No, I
here and
didn't.
fight.
I said I said
know
you
me
could
for
appeal
20
to the
years.
board.
You knew to expect this. Okay? You knew I was going to get up here. Okay? And it was if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
I
okay?
didn't say either way.
Come
I
on.
said this is not the time and place, and we need to move on. If you'd like to appeal to the board, send us an email.
Send you an email. So
Why
I
don't we
like to send a transcript. Watch the video of tonight's meeting. That's my presentation. There's nothing that says you have to send an email. Nothing says that in any policy that I have to send an email. I've raised the issue before the board. I like the board to take it.
I'm very comfortable with the board taking this under advisement and in an executive session.
No, it should be an executive session.
Excuse me, sir. If the board discusses an executive session when they have an opportunity to hear both sides of the discussion.
But why are you taking another side, Mr. Grisham? Why are you taking another side against Bobby? That's my question. Why would you take another side? If a kid, everything I said, okay, with regard to him being 1 point short, why would it be such a great concern and peril to you against him? I don't understand it. I don't understand why this advocacy, okay, against him. Okay, I don't. I seriously don't understand it.
Thank you very much. Again, this is not the right time and the right place. This is not how it may work that way in your courtroom.
Okay.
In terms of if the administration or the Board of Education needs to review any issue with a staff member or with a student or a grade or a placement, typically the parent will make the request to make an appeal to the board. I'm telling you how the process has worked for 30 years. Let me finish, please.
I'm letting you finish.
Thank you. The board would hear the appeal. Okay, if you feel that you don't need to send the board an email, they've heard your statement. The board would go into executive session. They would review your request. They would look for some feedback from high school administration, and they would make a decision. That's how the process has worked for 30 years.
Can I just ask one question for you? Have you evaluated the situation already, Mr. Superintendent? Is this something that's risen to the superintendent's level?
It has gone from the high school administration to the assistant superintendent to the superintendent.
So you've given Mr. Klein an answer
I
already?
came in and spoke to him. He told me no.
Yeah.
Told my son no. Actually, he told us no.
And
Okay.
I told
And
you
you
no
told me
as
to-
well.
right.
We spoke on the phone
And
numerous
that's why-
times.
yes.
So to your question, Sam, the appeal has gone through the channels. So the appropriate final appeal would be to the Board of Education for the Board of Education review.
Okay, so you'll review it.
So,
Okay, and you'll review it.
so you're saying that the Board of Education can review it and make a decision even if it's not to your recommendation?
The board has overruled me before. So yes, I guess
Okay.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
the board can review the recommendation of administration and hear the rationale and make a final determination that could be in favor of Bubby or not.
Okay. Counsel, I just want to say, I know you're doing your job. I've sat in your chair for many years. I have the most respect for you. Okay. You're doing your job well. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm going to get my say. And so please don't take any notion that your attorney didn't try to shut me up with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We still in public comment? Oh,
Oh, I thought-
anybody?
As long as it takes. I'd like to go back to the previous discussion about the independent investigation. As a practicing lawyer myself for now 40 years, and knowing and even practicing on the edge of education law, I still haven't heard from Mr. Powers why he reviewed this agreement. The client is the Board of Education. With your conflict, as you stated, taking the high road and referring the matter to Gersio's firm, the Gersio firm is well schooled in education law. I can't imagine that somebody that issued a 67-page report costing the district upwards of $75,000 wouldn't have known the appropriate structure of the report, as you cited, Chris, wouldn't have known to decide to either protect subpoenaed witnesses or voluntary witnesses. And as we lawyers in the room know, when something appears on our bill for time spent, it's supposed to be time spent. The Gersio firm has done investigations from the beginning of time. And it's no secret that the Ingerman firm recommends the Gersio firm on a regular basis for independent investigations. And it's no secret that the Gersio firm recommends Ingerman Smith on a regular basis for independent investigations. And they're not the only two law firms in town. And again, I don't doubt your intention to take the high road. I don't doubt that at all. I've known you for too long to question that. But I can't for the life of me figure out how time is billed by your firm on an investigation where you have said a number of times in these public meetings that this was an independent investigation. And in fact, Sam's reference that the board is the client, that's about as accurate a statement as could be here. And if in fact you had a conflict because an investigation or a board member was a subject of an investigation, I don't know how you possibly can justify billing time and seeing that report and having conversations with that report, not just with your colleagues, not just with the investigator, but apparently with administration here. I don't see how you can justify it. I don't.
Ira, the support that I lent to the investigation was ministerial in nature, which is we received word that people that cooperated in the investigation, thinking they were protected, there weren't going to be direct quotes, were concerned about how their name would be affiliated with a particular quote. The way you can intervene to address that, to make sure we get through this very thorough report, is to say to Gersio and Gersio, please remove direct quotes. Do not change the content, but you can't have a name affiliated with a quote. Make that as a recommendation to them, and they then change the report to reflect that request. That was to protect people that cooperated. That was to protect the board member himself and also the Board of Education. That was the extent of my involvement. She sent me the report.
But how is it possible that Gersio and Gersio didn't know this? How is it possible that they needed advice from you on this? I mean,
sure.
This is what they do every day.
Right, but when I hear that people that cooperated here and answered questions truthfully had quotes affiliated with their name, they were really, really concerned about that. I then reached out to Gersio's office and asked them to make that change. She was receptive to the idea, did not change one thing about her conclusions, but as the format only. I think that was appropriate, sir.
Again, I don't understand how so credible witnesses came to you. They didn't tell the investigator in the course of their hours long and pages long testimony that appeared in that report. They didn't say, listen, I don't think my name should be in here. I'm a little uncomfortable. I want to tell the truth. I want to report what I heard. I want to report what I saw. From what I read, I mostly wanted to opine what I believed and what I may have saw, but I can't imagine they needed your help on this. I can't imagine.
Well, the witness's impression is that they would not have direct quotes. When the quotes appeared, we had to intervene to restructure the format, not to in any way change her findings. That's what we did.
But why didn't she know this? 67 pages of report. She's not a first-year law student.
My concern was not to protect Ashley Pope. My concern was to protect witnesses that came forward here in Jericho to cooperate in a very sensitive investigation. And that's what I did.
I'm sorry. I understand your sensitivity to this, but for you to have spent time and bill time with a colleague and with administration here on an independent report, I'm sorry, it's not an acceptable line.
Sure. Just in terms of billing, I don't want to drill down into the logistics of it. The Jericho School District was not billed for those conversations. It just comes under general retainer to help, as I've done for 25 years here. So there was no additional, whatever you cited to, $60,000, $75,000, none of that's from my firm, sir.
Hi.
Hey, Bill.
I think you can all hear me, even though the mic's kind of low down. Where to start? I know I should start. What's that? Yeah, I gotta raise this up. How's that? That's better. Not to waste a tremendous amount of time, but for our administrators, I will start with a song quote. I know it's late. I know you're weary, and I know your plans don't include me. But here I am, Bill Farrow, Two Roads End, Brookville, a Jericho School District resident for 29 years, and I will be leaving the district probably around the same time that school ends. So I'll start by talking about myself and my experience on the Board of Education. My comments will be really directed to the Board of Education, who I consider friends and colleagues and people I have respect for. There was a rumor before I ever ran for Board of Education that I had never been to a Board of Education meeting. And there's a rumor that since I stepped down as president of the Board of Education that I have never been to a Board of Education meeting. So, in all full disclosure, both those rumors are true. Here I am, and things look the same, but they look a little bit different. John Mankiewicz looks amazing, I think, to the point where I'm not even afraid of him anymore. But on a serious note, and before I talk about what I want to, wow, I didn't know I was walking into this meeting, had no idea what the subject matter was. To be honest, I didn't really read the agenda. I just knew I wanted to have a last opportunity to address the Board of Education, but I did not know that my friend and colleague Kim Conger, who has held so many titles in this district as well, is retiring. I'd like to thank you on behalf of all of the parents that have had children in the school for everything that you've done. My friend Lori Ann in the back, I didn't know she was retiring. I live, as we like to say, up north on 107. So I took pride when Lori first started working here to advise the district whenever there was a car accident involving a school bus on 107. After the first time when I beat her to it, I never got to beat her to it again. Lori, you're amazing. You've done a great job, and I wish you the best in your retirement. Ron Verderber, you have been a colleague and an adversary. You have handled yourself in your position with class, with passion. You have represented your membership to the best of your ability. Our job is not always to see eye to eye, but the mutual respect that we had for one another will be something I always cherish and remember about the Jericho School District. So thank you and congratulations. My man, Ben Schufel. You have taught me so much about what is great about the Jericho School District. You have been a mentor to me. You have been a friend. You're too old to be my brother, maybe his brother, but too old to be my brother. But as close to an older brother that I could have. We've worked through issues. You sat there while the board changed and revolved, and I think you got to watch me grow from sort of a very inexperienced pup to a kind of an ornery Board of Ed president that knew when it was his time to step down. If anybody deserves retirement, my friend, it's you. I know that you'll enjoy it. I love you, and thank you for everything you've done for all the kids in this community. So I would like to talk a little bit about what I've watched here tonight, what I've watched on Zooms. I won't be handing in any notes because in typical Bill fashion, I don't have any notes. I really wanted this to come from the heart. What I see up there is broken, but it's not broken beyond repair. I started my career on the Board of Ed with Barbara Krieger, Joe Lorenz, Claire Hockheiser, and Sean Gladstone. I didn't really know any of them. They didn't really like me. They didn't really want me, but they showed a mutual respect from day one. And they let me earn their respect by listening to me, by teaching me, and by ultimately respecting me. My friend Ira Chekla was part of some of the most dysfunctional boards of education that there could have been in the back room, where fights, he has told me legendary fights that he's had in executive session, but they never made their way to the dais. They never made their way to a Zoom. They never made their way to the community, because at the end of the day, our job is to lead by example. Our job and listen, we all have bad moments. I probably had the worst of all. We could laugh about it, but it's something I live with. And it was at a Meet the Candidates night. And if I could take that minute in time back and control my temper and not make Victor pull me back, I would do so in a second, because I embarrassed the district that night. I embarrassed myself, and I embarrassed the Board of Education. But I learned from it. I made sure that never happened again. And it's important to learn from our mistakes, because that's the only way we ever get better. I have watched on Zoom this Board of Education attacking curriculum associates, attacking teachers and the classes they were teaching, and questioning their teaching methods, which is okay. It really is okay to question it, but it's the way that you question it. It's the venomous attitude towards the most amazing staff, if not in all of New York State, then in the entire country. We have teachers that are so passionate. We have administrators that are so passionate that we can offer 4 different languages to our elementary school students. You have to realize every one of them has our children's best interest at heart. You heard about DEI today, and you worry about those kids, the 30%, or maybe it's the 20%. And this committee, while it's been working for 2 years, is working passionately to save lives, because those kids that are afraid of their identity, that are afraid of their fellow classmates, that may be afraid of their teachers, or maybe even be afraid at home, this is supposed to be their safe haven. This is the place where everything is supposed to be okay. So as Board of Education members, again, you must lead by example. You must respect one another, all of you, all of you. This is not directed towards any individual person, I promise you that. This is a matter of fixing what's broken. Because at the end of the day, again, it's our kids that matter. It really is about kids and doing the best thing we can for them. But when you waste time publicly arguing with each other over what the majority of the district thinks is inappropriate, you're wasting your time because you volunteer for these positions. You're wasting the community's time who's here to lean on you, to ask you to guide them. When you question every move the administration makes, you're suggesting that you know more about education than they do. And I swear, I promise you, as someone who has been on the Board of was on the Board of Education for 12 years, what made me effective, whether you think I was or not, was that I knew the people to trust. And yes, you can question them, but you must trust them. You must trust their experience and their knowledge. And I implore each one of you to go back and watch videos of these Board of Education meetings. They're an embarrassment. They're a black eye on our district. Elections are coming up, and I understand they're going to be contested. That's wonderful. Respect one another when you're running. Respect one another at the Meet the Candidates night. Put forth an agenda that's about the kids, not about personal agenda, not about politics. Just walk before Election Day. Take a walk through all the elementary schools, through the middle school, through the high school, and look at the kids. Look at them learning. Look at what you are part of and be proud of it. Be proud of the advancements. Don't be part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Opportunity for the public to be heard? Do we have any emails? New business. st- State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA. Due to a burst pipe in the lower level of the school, the electrical room filled with approximately 7 feet of 7 feet of water. The entire electrical service was replaced as part of an insurance claim. Cleanup and temporary service already took place. New switch gear is currently on order. And now, therefore, the Board of Education hereby declares itself lead agency in connection with the requirements of CERCLA. And be it resolved that after review of the proposed action, hereby declares that the projects are type 2 actions which require no further review under CERCLA, and that the Board of Education hereby shall forward an official copy of the resolution to the New York State Education Department with a copy of correspondence to the Parks and Recreation, Historic Preservation in connection with its request for approval of the listed project from the New York State Education Department. Do I have a motion? Jen, second. Divya, any discussion?
Do we have certification from Mr. Grillo Simmons last month that this is a part 2, type 2 action?
That was a long pause to say yes.
All in favor? Thank you. Acceptance of first reading of policy 1350, Code of Ethics and Best Practice for School Board Members. Do I have a motion to accept the first reading? Jen, second. Sam? Any discussion?
This is just a revision of a policy we recently adopted a few months ago, and really the suggested change reflects last month's meeting. I don't begrudge a person not knowing. There's lots of material, as Mr. Farrow pointed out. We are volunteers, and we should be able to rely on each other to fill the gaps in that knowledge. Unfortunately, this knowledge gap was evident last month when we had an issue about calling a question. And as I stated when we were writing this policy, I don't think something like that deserves some type of complaint. However, once we do know the facts, we need to respect the policies and rules and the law, and we can't disagree with it because it's inconvenient. And that's sort of what happened, or that is what happened last month, and it's happened in other instances. So the change that I put forward here is simply to say best practice is not to know, but it's to not circumvent willingly and knowingly the rule of law. Because, again, what happened last month when people certain board members didn't understand how calling the question voting got counted. I think that's just a human frailty, and I don't begrudge people for that. I don't think you punish ignorance, you punish malfeasance. And I changed the policy to reflect malfeasance of willingly and knowingly circumventing those rules as opposed to just not knowing them.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
If everyone's in agreement, do you want to just skip the second reading so we don't have to discuss it again?
Only 2 people voted yes. We're not
Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor? 2, all opposed? Motion fails 2 to 3.
Is there anyone who wants to offer an explanation as to why? Fair enough, then the complaint will get filed.
Okay, there's a motion a resolution that's not on the agenda. It's a settlement agreement Be it resolved that the Board of Education, having reviewed a settlement agreement and general release in executive session concerning a member of the instructional staff, hereby approves such settlement agreement and general release and directs the superintendent of school and the board president to execute such settlement agreement and general release on behalf of the Board of Education. Do I have a motion? Jen, second. Divya, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. 5-0. Approval of schedules. Do I have a motion to approve schedules ID 14244 through U365? Jen, thank you. Second? Any second? Divya, any discussion?
The policies that you're doing at once? Yeah, I have some questions when. Couple things. One, Textbook Central, that's just for resident students attending private school, right? We don't pay that
Correct.
for our students.
Correct.
And I would ask that on Schedule L, ID number 14265, that schedule be broken out separately, and that each item on that schedule be broken out separately. Don't know if I need a 3-2 or a vote on that. It's the use of facilities, use of school facilities.
What's the number?
It's the inside number is L-597, use of school facilities. On the left side, it's ID number 14265. I don't know which number you're looking for. It's the third one down on page 6 of the agenda, at least. It's the last schedule before curriculum and instruction board schedules.
So did you make a motion to separate that schedule from the rest of the schedules?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll pull that one out. That's the use of facilities schedule. Okay, so are you okay to vote on the rest of it, or you have questions or comments on the rest of the schedules? Did you?
Regarding the state aid, Victor, do you mind?
Sure.
Sorry, I have to go back.
I think
the questions.
you mentioned it was 702,000, and you were
Yes.
questioning that amount. So our state aid doesn't come in one chunk at the beginning of the year. It comes in various different buckets throughout the year.
Okay.
That's 702,500 of that 702 was BOCES aid for the 23-24 school year.
Okay, so that's for the entire year, right?
Nope, not for the entire year. That was a piece of the BOCES aid for the 23-24 school year.
Okay.
We won't receive the final payment of BOCES aid probably until later August into September. Then lottery aid was part of that. CPSE aid was part of that, and we also received the final FEMA reimbursement from COVID. So that was all part of the 700.
Okay, and so it's all part of it. So I guess on just like a high level, can you just touch upon what we use the state aid for?
Yeah, so
besides
as far as the general fund state aid out of that amount, really just the BOCES aid is part of that, as well as the lottery aid. The FEMA aid was based on COVID, so we're not going to receive, that's not a recurring type of aid we're going to receive because COVID is over at this point.
Okay.
But the BOCES aid and the other pieces are part of the total budget. For example, for next year, we budgeted $9.8 million in state aid. That would still be a part of it next year.
Okay, so I saw that there was some talk about reducing state aid across New York State. Will that
Yeah.
affect us?
So there's a piece of the governor's proposal that eliminated Save Harmless. And Save Harmless, what that refers to is if a district had a certain amount of foundation aid, they would receive minimally that same amount next year. Our understanding is that will not be included in the final budget. It had a minimal effect anyway. For us, it was about $11,000.
Okay,
It wasn't
that's what I want.
significant.
Okay, so that's all.
And then the CPI differential, I think they're going to end up at about 2.8% as opposed to the 4.12% actual CPI that was for last year. Again, that for our district, that'll be minimal. That represents probably about half to 2/3 of our aid. All the rest of the aid is expense-based. For example, BOCES aid. That calculation as far as what we get back percentage-wise won't change. It just depends on how much you expend in a particular year. So the following year, you would get aid on how much you spend this year in BOCES.
Okay. My next question is on the general ledger report. I just wanted to know, as far as like we have like still listed here and it's zeroed out, class of 2013, class of 2014. How long do we keep these on the general ledger?
So it's these are the extra classrooms, extra classroom activities.
Yes.
Yeah. 13, 14.
13, 14. I mean, yeah.
It's zeroed.
Yes.
Oh, okay. There's no more funds in it. Usually,
Yes, so that's
what
why I-
happens, like for example, the 23-24 school year for that particular year, if there's any funds left over, it would automatically
Right.
go for like this year's junior class. It would go for
Right.
them. It should. Well, I'll have them remove it.
But the question is, I mean, I'm sure it was already moved years ago.
It
so-
was. I could have them remove it.
Okay, so that was my question, and then, sorry, I'm just gonna jump to E2866. Can you just explain, as far as the capital improvement program, what does it mean, general construction piggyback off Bayshore UFSD?
Sure. That's Renew Contracting. We are able to piggyback, currently the law allows us to piggyback off of other bids, assuming the other municipality has piggybacking allowed in the purchasing policy, and you, that would be piggybacking, also has that language in your policy, which both we do and Bayshore does. It allows us to, instead of going out for a separate bid, go off of that bid, assuming we get permission from that district, which we did. Renew is a phenomenal contractor. They're actually the ones doing the emergency work as well for the electrical panels. We've used them over the years for many projects, and we're confident, especially with a project like the bathrooms, where you really need to be done when we open school. We're confident that they will move forward in that. Another one, I think there were 3 bids altogether, so that was one of them. The window replacement was another that we actually went out to bid for because we couldn't piggyback from another municipality. We went out to bid. I believe Arrow was the low bidder. They were also the low bidder on the windows that are currently being installed in the original part of the high school. First time we've worked with them that I'm aware of, and they're currently doing a fantastic job. So very confident in their getting additional work going forward. I think there was a third one.
So this is,
I'm sorry.
Middle school teachers' room, Stasi, 250.
Oh, middle school. Yeah, that's for putting the ventilation down in the middle school teachers and adding windows. Stasi will be doing the excavation of the soil in that area. That's the only piece that they will be doing. Renew will then be doing the actual structural work of adding the windows and the ventilation.
okay, so just once again, just so I could understand, we're doing this is for cost saving purposes, that we piggyback off of Bayshore while they're doing their construction, correct?
Combination cost savings, but I would argue more that we trust the contractor and we've used them before and we know they will do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
I just have one question, and I'm sorry I didn't write down what schedule this was on, but there's a somewhere it says Elevate Science 2019 K-5 program, and it's a $34.50 activation charge. It's a 20. I just wanted to understand what the activation charge for a 2019 program is.
It's a staff development activity. Grade 3 teachers, due to the new next gen science standards, we've brought in new textbooks. This is year 2. Last year we trained teachers in grades 4 and 5 to use the new resources, and this year we're training teachers in grade 3.
So all in favor of approving all of the schedules except L597? And I presume it's okay to approve one of the items on that schedule because you wanted to talk about them separately? So all of the schedules, including L597, use of facilities, the first item, Harvard Club of Long Island, so other than the PTA Council League of Women Voters item, correct? Okay, all in favor? Is that everyone? 5-0. Okay. Motion to approve Schedule L597 with respect to the PTA Council League of Women Voters meet the candidate night. Do I have a motion? Jen, second. Divya, discussion?
We've discussed it. I'm
Okay.
not going to repeat myself.
Okay,
It's just-
all in favor? So we have 4, all opposed? 4-1. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Jen, second. Chris? Any discussion? All in favor? Have a good night. It's almost tomorrow morning. See you all in May.